A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
For a wash that's deep clean, sparkling clean, use Deep Cleaning Oxidol. Oxidol is deep cleaning. Deep cleaning. Deep cleaning. Oxidol's own Ma Perkins. Ladies, you hear a lot of talk today about new developments in wash day products. But the news that's overshadowing all this talk, news that makes a real difference in your wash, is the news about Deep Cleaning Oxidol. Deep Cleaning Oxidol washes out the gray dirt left enclosed by the leading wash day suds, the leading shortcut suds. Now, this fact was proved to women in an amazing washing demonstration. And one of the women present at this demonstration was Mrs. Paul Zurich of Elmwood, Ohio. Here's what Mrs. Zurich saw.
In this washing demonstration, they used my clean clothes. At least I thought they were clean because I had just washed them with the leading suds the way you're told to. Then they washed those clothes over again, this time with Deep Cleaning Oxidol. You should have seen the dirty wash water come out of those clothes I thought were clean. That dirty wash water showed me Oxidol really can get out the gray dirt left enclosed by those leading shortcut suds.
Thanks, Mrs. Zurich. And ladies, here's something we'd like you to do at home. Next wash day, use Deep Cleaning Oxidol and see for yourself how much dirt Oxidol can get out of your clothes. And then, for the most interesting news of all, look at the clothes themselves. When you use Deep Cleaning Oxidol, your clothes look white and bright, and your clothes feel soft and fluffy. Clothes smell sweet, too. Yes, your clothes look clean, feel clean, smell clean, because they are clean with Deep Cleaning Oxidol. Yet, Deep Cleaning Oxidol is truly safe. Deep clean clothes stay brighter, new-looking longer. So don't wash clothes with suds that leave dirt in. Get clothes deep clean, sparkling clean with Deep Cleaning Oxidol. Oxidol is deep cleaning. Deep cleaning. Deep cleaning. Ask your dealer for Oxidol today. And now, for Ma Perkins. Won't Ma and the folks ever see the wicked plot of the cousin? Now, this is the way the plot stands today. Sylvester does intend to return that money he swindled from Willie and Ethel. Because, you see, Sylvester is clever. He knows that Ma and Fay would never trust him again if he did not return that money. And, of course, Sylvester still wants to win Fay's hand and Fay's fortune, to say nothing of Ma's lumber. And so, Sylvester has decided to wreck his car and... But, let's listen. It's later that same evening now, and Cousin Bonita is just paying a call on Ethel. Here they are.
Oh, it's just nice, Cousin Bonita. Come on in. Oh, things to do. If you're going to tell me, Cousin Evie, or if you're getting ready to go out. No, I'm doing a thing. Just finishing up in the kitchen. Stacking the dishes to Willie from White when he gets back. Well, he went someplace with Sylvester. You're Sylvester. Sylvester introducing him to some man, and maybe he's got a job for Willie. I know, Cousin Evie. In fact, that's why, here, I'll take off my coat, and we'll go in the kitchen, and I'll wipe the dishes. Men folks don't like wiping dishes. Oh, no, Willie don't mind. Oh, he's had plenty of practice. He usually been married. Here, I'll take the coat. Come on back in the kitchen a sec, Cousin Bonita. Oh, say, I was just going to call you up. It's about the Jolly 17. I got to appoint this committee, you see, and I was thinking, well, it's time Cousin Bonita Perkins Hamilton showed what she can do on a committee. It's the committee for the decorations of the county. Excuse me, Cousin Evie. Yeah, sure, I'll be glad to serve in any way. Just so you don't make me chairman. Huh? I hate bossing people around, especially them nice ladies in the club. You just make somebody else chairman and let her boss me around. Yeah. But I want to talk to you about something else, Cousin Evie. Here, give me a towel. Oh, well, there's hardly enough dishes even to talk about. You want to talk about dying distance? No, Cousin Evie. You see, I was just over at Ma's house. Ma and Faye was there. And it seems like Shuffle's been over, and there's more trouble with Shuffle. Shuffle, him. He pays any attention to him. That ain't the way Cousin Ma looks at it, honey. Cousin Ma loves Shuffle. And Evie, it's plain to see where the trouble comes from between Cousin Ma and good old Shuffle. It comes from me and mine. From us cousins. Now, Benita, it's an open secret. It's no secret at all. But Shuffle's been acting just plain crazy ever since you folks got to town. Now, you gotta understand how it is with old people, Cousin Benita. And Shuffle's so jealous of everybody who gets in good with Ma, to say nothing of Ma herself. Shuffle this, Shuffle that. And it's because she's known Shuffle all her life. That's the way it is with old people, Cousin Benita. So just don't you pay no attention to it. I know about old people, Eddie dear. I ain't so young myself no more. And Cousin Ma's been so wonderful to me and mine, helping us. Oh, all I want is for everybody to love everybody else. It just breaks me all up when Cousin Ma's working all up. Well, I know that, Cousin Benita. Ma knows it, too. And I'm telling you, I'll tell you again, it's all Shuffle's fault. So you just forget it. If you want to wipe the dishes, don't use that towel, Benita. Use this one. No, Cousin Evie, no. It ain't all Shuffle's fault. See, that one's wet. I was using it for... What ain't all Shuffle's fault? I got my reasons for believing that maybe me and mine are responsible, too. Cousin Evie, what's this I hear about some business deal you got with my boy Sylvester? What? Oh, the mining stock news, yeah. Okay, that's a wonderful deal, Cousin Benita. We're going to make profit. Only it ain't with Cousin Sylvester. He's just the one who raised it. Did you listen when the men folks are talking business, Benita? I always do. Do you happen to have any idea, Evie, where my boy Sylvester got the money for his new car? What? No, Well, after all, I don't get it, Cousin Benita. I see what you're driving at. I don't even know myself what I'm driving at. I just got this funny feeling like everything's all tied together. Tied together with me and mine. Shuffle mad at poor Cousin Ma. Shuffle not working at the lumber yard. No more, nor really neither. You got a business deal with Sylvester? And Sylvester buys a new car with money, which I didn't even know he could afford $5 a week for kitchen money. I'm worried. I don't like it. Benita, frankly, I can't make head or tail. You're worried, but what are you worried about? That's what I don't know. But then why worried? I can't help it. I'm worried. Oh, I know what you mean. I get that way sometimes, too. I got wondering, where's Junior? Maybe I haven't seen him for an hour. I rush out on the back porch, hollering, "Where are you, Junior?" All the time he's right up there. Incidentally, where is he? He went out after supper. Oh, that's right. That's right, he come back in. He's upstairs taking a bath. Danny, you see what I mean, Benita? Wait just a minute. Junior, don't stay in that tub. You get all wrinkled. Don't forget to wash it out and clean pajamas, Junior. Oh, it just reminds me so much of when my Sylvester was that age. Oh, so cute and darling. Well, when they're cute and darling, they're cute and darling. And otherwise, they're extremely otherwise. Is that the front door? Who's that? Is that you, Willie?
Yeah, Benita. Where are you?
Oh, sounds like Cousin Willie. Sounds like him all right, but sounds like something's happened. We're in the kitchen, Willie. Benita's here.
Come on in here, Eddie. And bring that bottle the postman gave us that time. It's in the whatchamacallit in the dining room. Hurry up.
Bottle? Bottle? Oh, my goodness. It must be Sylvester. It's Sylvester there, Willie. Oh, come on, Eddie. What bottle, Willie?
Eddie, where are you? Can't you even understand plain English? Me and Sylvester just had the most awful... hi, Benita. Eddie, get me 2 glasses. I'm going to have one, too. I'm just as shaky as he is.
Explain yourself. What's the matter? Sylvester, you mean? What's the matter, Willie? Is he all right?
I regret that I should put you to any trouble, Cousin Evie. Hello there, old girl. Yes, sure. I'm all right. Just a little shaken up, I guess.
shaken up? What happened?
Evie, get 2 glasses.
There's glasses right in the cabinet right in front of you. I want to know what happened.
My car, Cousin Evie, my beautiful new car. A total loss.
Your car?
Smashed by a plane. Right in front of our eyes.
Really?
We tried to flag it down, but we couldn't. Most terrible sight I ever seen. Sylvester, I don't know what this is. We never opened the bottle. A fellow gave it to me a couple of years ago. It's wine or whiskey or something. Oh, that's all right, Cousin Willie. I can live without it.
Maybe I should make some coffee. I'll make coffee, Willie. The bottle's for Junior's wedding.
Oh.
But what happened? If you got hit by a plane, how come you're both all right?
You tell us, Sylvester. Unless you'd rather not talk about it. Sylvester is very broken up, Eddie. After all, his beautiful new car. Oh, that's all right, Willie. I'm sort of getting back to myself. It was quite an experience, lady. A veteran driver like myself, storing a car on the railroad track. I wonder if there was a mechanical defect. Willie and I couldn't even push it off the track. Oh, we drive with might and main. Oh, I'll say we did. Eddie, did I hear you mention coffee?
Yeah.
That's a very good idea, because I'm nervous. Let's make some.
All right. Your car stalled on the railroad track, Sylvester, and the train hit it and smashed it up.
That's right, Mumsy. A total loss. Oh, and that reminds me. I better use the phone right this minute. I'll call the insurance man.
Oh, yeah, sure. Go right ahead, Sylvester. I'll make the coffee. Don't say anything while I'm gone.
Make it strong, Eddie. And I'd like something to eat, too. I don't know why I'm hungry, but all of a sudden I'm starved. Could you eat a little bite, Sylvester? After a while, maybe, Willie. After I come to myself again. Oh, okay.
Son Sylvester.
Now, don't pester me now, if you don't mind. I gotta call the insurance man.
Sylvester, is there any hanky-panky hocus-pocus about you smashing up this car? Did you smash it up on purpose, Sylvester?
What, on purpose? You keep your big mouth shut. You'll never say that again, you hear me? You don't know nothing of the sort.
No, I don't know nothing. I never know nothing. But I guess I was right. There's more here than meets the eye.
Ladies, there's just one reason why you wash clothes. You want them clean. And that's why today's news about deep cleaning Oxidol is so important to you. Deep cleaning Oxidol washes out the grimy dirt in clothes and gets your clothes sparkling clean. When you wash clothes with Oxidol, you can see they're sparkling white and bright. You can feel your clothes are soft and fluffy. You can smell they're sweet, too. Yes, clothes look clean, feel clean, smell clean because they are clean with deep cleaning Oxidol. So for a wash that's deep clean, sparkling clean, get deep cleaning Oxidol at your dealers now in the same familiar Oxidol package. And so Sylvester's wrecked his car, and even his own mother guesses that it was not an accident. But what will Ma think? And Faye? Well, it's Ma and Faye we join tomorrow. But now this is Charlie Warren inviting you to listen again tomorrow, same time, same station, to Oxidol's own Ma Perkins, presented by the Procter & Gamble Company. For a wash that's deep clean, sparkling clean, use deep cleaning Oxidol.
Oxidol is deep cleaning. Deep cleaning. Deep cleaning. Autolite and its 98,000 dealers bring you Mr. John Hodiak in tonight's presentation of Suspense. Tonight, Autolite presents the story of two men who could really talk, a young man and an old man. Naturally enough, they were liars. They also happened to be bank robbers. The story is based on fact and called The Big Heist. Our star, Mr. John Hodiak. Well, hello there, Sheriff.
Oh, hello, Harlow.
Say, now, ain't that Autolite Stay Full the best battery that ever set a car, Perkins?
Well, it sure is, Sheriff. The Autolite Stay Full is the famous battery that needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use. It's the battery with fiberglass retaining mats protecting the power of every positive plate to reduce shedding and flaking and give that great battery longer life, as proved by tests conducted according to accepted life cycle standards. Who says different, Sheriff?
Why, nobody, Harlow. I just can't find nobody as needs convincing about the Autolite Stay Full.
You're so right, Sheriff. So, friends, visit your nearest Autolite battery dealer. He services all makes of batteries, and he has an Autolite Stay Full for your car. To quickly locate him, call Western Union by number
and ask for me, Operator 25. I'll tell you the name of your nearest Autolite battery dealer where you can get an Autolite Stay Full.
the battery that needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use. And remember, from bumper to tail light, you're always right with Autolite.
And now, Autolite presents The Big Heist, starring Mr. John Hodiak, hoping once again to keep you in suspense.
Yeah, sure. I worked with John Barry on the Colfax National Trick. He's the best in these bank bits, you know. Of course, everybody knows that. He had it cased right up to where he could tell you what the guy in small loans had for breakfast that morning. If it was a John Barry job, you can figure it was first class. Good. Right. Know what I mean? Yeah, believe I will. Thanks. Much obliged. You see, I've been hanging around that pool room for a week or so, knocking off this one and that one, picking up enough to get by on. It was, 4 days ago. Thursday. This bald-headed gent had been sitting there a half hour or better watching me practice. I'd seen him around before. I knew he'd get up and talk to me pretty soon.
Hey.
What's the matter?
That's pretty good.
Just luck.
Don't kid me.
I'm not.
You like 8-ball?
Well, I'm willing to try anything.
Swell. Play for a buck?
I don't know.
What's the matter? Have you got a buck?
I'm looking at the way you picked out that cue. You must be pretty good.
I'm no good at all.
Now, let's hold off playing for a buck right now. Just a friendly game.
Well, suit yourself. But you'll be sorry when you see how I play. I'm really no good. You wait, you'll see.
He was a lollipop. If he'd thrown away the cue and used a baseball bat, he'd done better. Every shot, I thought he was going to tear the felt right off the table. But I let him win the first 4 games, and I could tell he felt pretty good about it. I miscued and passed up shots that a 10-year-old kid could have figured. I only had $5 to my name, but I knew I was going to have at least 25 of his before I finished right.
Okay, this will only take a minute.
Uh-oh.
All of you, over against that wall. Come on, let's hustle it up. Come on, boys, let's not waste a lot of time.
Hey, what's up?
Looking for vags, I guess.
Huh?
Getting a road gang together. They like to pick up anybody who needs a shave.
Uh-oh. Come on now, you two. Get over here.
Right against the wall, boys. That's it.
Let's knock off the chatter, huh? Just keep it quiet.
I want identification on all of you. Driver's license, social security card, something that'll tell us what your name is, where you live, and where you work. Take 'em out. Come on, boys.
Hey, I'm in trouble.
Huh?
No address here.
Boy, you are in trouble.
Shut up down there. How many times have I got to
This your address, Barney? 21216th?
Yes, sir.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a bricklayer.
Where do you work?
Masterson Construction Company.
Why aren't you working today?
I'm sick.
Okay. Let's see it. No, not the wallet, just the card. Carl Weisenbach?
Yeah.
Work, Carl?
No, just sort of passing through town. You can see I live in Philly.
I can see. How do you live, Carl?
I saved my money.
This one.
Okay, come on.
Hey.
You know what it's all about.
Let's have it, buddy. James Scott?
That's right, Sergeant.
What's this Salt Lake City?
Well, that's where I lived.
He's with me now. We live together at 516 Mariondale, number 14.
What's your name?
Martin Collins.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm an electrician.
Yeah. And what do you do?
I help him. I'm learning the trade.
Here? In this place?
Oh, guy's got to relax, Sergeant. We just finished a big wiring job for an outdoor billboard outfit.
Why?
17 days hanging by our toes on those things. You try it sometime.
And this is our first day off since the beginning of last month. Right?
You betcha. That's true, Sergeant.
Okay, here. You. Where do you work?
Man, I own this place. That's where I work.
Thanks, Cullen.
Don't
Where's
mention
your
it,
wife?
Scotty.
That's about the way it started. Collins turned out to be a little quicker than I first sized him up. I could have talked my way out of it, I guess, but then he just might have saved me 10 days for no visible means. After the cops talked to everybody and hauled a few down, we went back to the table.
Well, that's that.
Hey, aren't you going to let me get even?
You'd never get even with me, boy.
What?
Had me picked, didn't you, Scott? Just like that bus driver you had right here on the same table 3 days ago.
Why?
Oh, you were going to let me win the first 4. Then you were going to turn into a regular woolly hoppy and really let me have it. It had gone up from $1 to 5, then 10. Isn't that the way you're going to work it now, huh?
Well, I'd just like to try for my $3 again.
Come on, boy. Who you kidding? Own up now.
Okay. I had you picked. I could still give you a game, though.
I tell you, I invented the game. You've been wasting your time. You have been wasting your time.
Have I? 5, 10, $15 a day around here. Not bad, I'd say.
How could you go for $10,000 in one day, huh?
Sounds good. But you'll have to lend me some overalls, because I know I'm going to have to work real hard for that kind of money.
We need a third guy.
For what?
You want to meet somebody?
Sure. Why not?
Hang up your cue, boy. John Barry.
Hello.
This is Jim Scott, John.
Hiya.
Come on in, Jim. Tell me where you come from.
Salt Lake City.
Nice place, Salt Lake. How long you been in town?
A week or better.
What are you doing in this part of the country?
Well, I don't know if I have...
It isn't going to hurt you. Just answer questions, Scott. Go on, tell him.
You sit down, son.
Thanks.
I just like to know a little about the people I work with, that's all. Now, again, what are you doing here?
Looking for work, I guess. I drove a truck on my last job.
Do you know anybody in town?
Couple of people.
Who?
Oh, girl named Melva. We sort of, got acquainted.
A week in town, and you already got yourself a girl. That's good, isn't it, Martin?
Pretty good, John.
Well, you're a personable young fellow. You have a nice way about you. I don't see why not. Can you use a little money?
Well, he said something about $10,000. That's not a little money.
It might be a lot more than that. At least 10.
Oh, sure. I could use it. What do I have to do, hold up a bank?
No, I'll do that part of it. You just help me.
Huh?
Yes, it's a bank job. You ever hear of me, son? John Barry?
No.
Well, I'm the best in the business, and I always pick good men to work with me. Now, you look like the kind of boy who knows how to use his head. I'd like to have you in on it. You'll probably go far in this world.
Not sticking up a bank, I won't. I'll go to jail. That's what'll happen.
I thought you looked him over, Martin.
I did, John. It's a surprise to me. Would you rather hang around those pool rooms the rest of your life?
Oh, I've never done anything like a bank.
What have you done, son?
30 days. 90 days once, and I didn't like it.
Oh, I see. And I don't blame you. But no policeman's going to bother you on this. You aren't going to wind up in any jail. Nobody's going to jail. You do your part of it exactly the way I show you, and you come out clean, safe, nice and rich. Now, how does that sound?
Oh, it sounds pretty good.
How about that girl, Melva?
Yeah, that's her name.
She pretty?
Sure.
Well, she likes you, I'll bet. Huh, Martin?
Yeah, sure.
Now, you and I both know that one thing ladies understand is money. The more you have, the more they understand. It's the way they're built. Isn't that the way it is, Martin?
Sure is, John.
And you know that, too, son. Now, the money you get from this would help you a lot. Or maybe you wouldn't want to spend it on her. But then at your age, a good fling is something to remember all your life. A new car, nice place to live, things like that make this old world not such a bad place to live in. Maybe you'd even like to go into business.
Well, I thought about that, too.
Sure you have. When the whole thing's over, you'll never see Martin here again. You'll never see me again. But you'll have a big package of money to remember us by, to do with what you like. And I can tell by looking at you right now, that you have some pretty good ideas on how to handle money now. Isn't that right?
Well, what would I have to do?
Just pay attention to what you're told, Scott.
Martin's right. Years from now, somebody might ask you, or you just might want to tell them. You can say you were with John Barry on the bank job. You can say you started when there was low needle and you wrote it all the way. Of course, if you don't want to work with me, you can walk right out that door and forget we ever talked about this. But when you read in the papers about how it went off and how much was taken, you'll feel pretty silly passing it up. Now, if you can use the money and follow instructions, Martin and I would like to have you in on it. Wouldn't we?
We sure would.
Well, when are you going to do it?
Tomorrow afternoon.
Do you want to help us tip over this bank, or don't you?
What do you say?
10,000?
Probably a lot more. Are you in, son?
I'm in.
Autolite is bringing you Mr. John Hodiak in The Big Heist. Tonight's presentation in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
You know, Harlow, I really go for that Autolite Stay Full battery.
Well, millions of motorists do, Sheriff. They all agree that for power, dependability, and convenience, you just can't beat the battery that needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use.
And don't forget, it has a life longer than a Texas Panhandle.
That's because every positive plate in the Autolite Stay Full is protected by fiberglass retaining mats to reduce shedding and flaking for longer life, as proved by tests conducted according to accepted life cycle standards.
Yes, sir. That Autolite Stay Full is top for my money.
And your Autolite battery dealer is tops when it comes to servicing all makes of batteries. And he has an Autolite Stay Full for your car if a replacement is needed. To quickly locate him, call Western Union by number
and ask for Operator 25. I'll tell you the name of your nearest Autolite battery dealer where you can get an Autolite Stay Full.
The battery that needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use. And remember, from bumper to tail light, you're always right with Autolite.
And now, Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage Mr. John Hodiak in Elliot Lewis's production of The Big Heist, a dramatic report well calculated to keep you in suspense.
This bird who built the Colfax National had a pretty nifty idea. He set it back off the street so you can just shove your car right up in front of the place like it was a drive-in. No parking problem. There's plenty of room all the time to get in or out. And I guess that's the main reason John Barry fixed it.
Just a minute, Scott.
Huh?
Relax.
Well, I thought we were going in and look the place over.
It's been looked over. I've been at it for the last 8 months.
Oh, okay.
See that guard in front, son?
The one looking at us?
He's looking over us, son. He's watching that big clock across the street. He always does.
Huh?
For some reason, 2 minutes mean a lot in that man's life. The clock across the street runs 2 minutes fast. There are clocks on all 4 walls of the bank that are right on the nose, but when it gets near quitting time, he goes by that clock in front of the jewelry store. Now, in about 30 seconds, he'll rope off the front doors of the bank, and no more customers will be allowed in today. You'll have to keep him busy out there tomorrow.
You're worried about one guard out front? Well, what about all those tellers and clerks inside? Must be 25 of them.
There's 33 people inside that bank.
Well, who's going to keep them busy while I'm keeping him busy? Suppose one of them wants to turn in an alarm.
You're asking too many questions, Scott. Why don't you just listen?
That's all right, Martin. I don't want to worry about anything. Son, there are only 4 tellers inside that bank who'll know it's being robbed. We'll be 10 blocks away before the rest of them find out.
Yeah, but I can see 5 cages in there.
That's right. We only have to worry about the first 4. The 5th one won't be working tomorrow. He's a war veteran with a hero complex. The only one in the whole bunch who tried for the alarm. But we're lucky. The poor man has a spinal injury. Every Friday afternoon, he leaves at 2 o'clock to go over to the Veterans Hospital on Bainbridge Boulevard for outpatient treatment. They just closed his cage.
He hurt bad?
Anything in the spine's bad. Yeah. Did they tell you?
The guards were open off the door.
2 minutes to 3 by the bank clocks. 3 o'clock by that one over there. You and I'll park the car here tomorrow at 5 minutes to 3.
I'll already be inside the bank waiting for John.
Martin goes in at 2:45. I meet him inside at 2 minutes to 3. Martin covers me while I work the cages. At 3, by that clock across the street, you'll go up to that guard and keep him busy. I don't want him to turn around or worry about anything that's going on inside. You understand, son?
Yeah, sure.
You'll have to keep him busy for at least 3 minutes.
So how?
You talk pretty good, Scotty. That's why we picked you.
Martin's right, son. You just go up to him and say anything you like, just so you keep him busy. This time tomorrow, you'll be a pretty well-set young fella. Doesn't that make you feel good, son?
I don't know where I got the notion that a bank robber always wore a dark suit and pulled a hat over his eyes. It was pretty hard to convince myself that an old guy, a fat guy, and me were going to heist the Colfax National. But when we got back to the hotel room and John Barry began telling me all he knew about the insides and outsides of that bank, and the people who ran it, and the people who built it, and the people who owned it, I began to get a lump in my throat for the bonding company. He had diagrams. He had blueprints. He knew the alarm system better than the Ginzo who put it in. And there's a certain safe company back in Ohio that'd make him a vice president tomorrow for what he could tell them about their own time vaults. But until 8 that night, he kept me busier than a flea on a fat man, telling me about everything. I felt pretty good about the whole thing. And I was just getting ready to go up to the room he rented for me when it happened.
Here you are, son. Go ahead, son. Take it. It's yours.
What? You didn't say anything about a gun. I thought all I had to do was talk to that guard.
That's right, son. But I'm giving you this right now. I want you to have it.
Well, 45.
Fine piece, that.
Is it loaded?
Oh, yeah. You better go upstairs and get yourself some sleep, son. Big day tomorrow.
Yeah. I guess you're right. I'll tell you this right now. That gun was something I hadn't counted on. John told me I wouldn't have to use it. But just the same, it worried me. You know, I just wasn't used to it. I went up to my room and tried to call Melva, but she was out. I lay down a while, and I couldn't sleep somehow. So I just went for a walk, thinking about everything. And I had the gun with me, right in my pocket. It was almost midnight when I got back. I didn't go to my room. I went right to his. He was lying on top of his bed in the dark, but his eyes were wide open and he had all his clothes on. An old guy, smoking a cigar, listening to the radio in his window.
Is that you, son?
Yeah.
Pretty music, huh? Very nice stuff that man wrote.
Yeah. Look, John, I'm out.
Out of the job, son?
Yeah. Here's your gun back. I don't want it. I thought of just scramming out, but I wanted to tell you because you've been good to me today.
I see. Mind if I ask you what made you change your mind about tomorrow?
Oh, I don't know what it was. I just decided not to, that's all.
Got the coffee, John. Thought you're in bed, Scott.
Martin, Scott says he isn't going with us tomorrow.
What?
That's right. And there's no sense in you getting steamed up about it. I'm just not going to do it. That's the whole thing in a shell hole.
Now, look, Scott, we got to have you on this job. It's too late to get anybody else. John spent 8 months laying it out. It's fixed for tomorrow afternoon.
No, Martin, just a minute. Scott's a pretty good boy. We both know that. If he has a reason to back out and quit, it must be a pretty good reason. Isn't that right, son?
Yeah.
You see, Martin, he thought it over.
Oh, but, John, if it doesn't come off the way we planned it...
Wait a minute, Martin. Son.
What?
I'd like to ask you again. Why?
Oh, I just don't want it.
Is it the gun, son? Is that it?
I don't want to shoot nobody.
Oh, well, no. Martin, have we ever shot anybody?
No.
You see, son, no sense in worrying about that. Now, Martin carried a gun for, 11 years, Martin?
At least that.
Never fired it. Martin, show him your gun.
Sure.
See, practically rusted, isn't it? Now, I've carried one for 22 years. Never had occasion to use it at all. When I gave you that gun tonight, son, I just thought I was going to make you feel good, honestly.
Well, You didn't make me feel good.
I see that now. But believe me, I just gave it to you as a sort of insurance. You don't even have to carry it if you don't want to. But look here, you take it back. Go ahead. Keep it tonight. If you don't want to take it tomorrow, that's all right. Now, how's that?
Well,
You go upstairs and get a good night's rest, son. You don't have anything to worry about. Tomorrow we'll all have a big breakfast and forget this ever happened.
We left the hotel at 2:20, and we dropped Martin Collins 6 blocks from the Colfax National. He was to take a streetcar up there. After that, John Barry and I drove around to kill 12 minutes. At 2:45, we headed for the bank ourselves, and we pulled up in the lot at exactly 7 minutes to 3. You'd have thought I'd been through a dozen of them the way I felt. And then, just like that, it started.
You all right?
Well, maybe I can't keep him busy for 3 minutes. What then?
No, take it easy. Of course you can keep him busy. Talk to him. You know how to do that.
Well, but what if I can't?
Now, look, that guard's name's Edward Jameson. He makes $68 a week standing there looking at that clock across the street and telling people why they can't come in once he's put the rope up. That's the big moment in his life. It's the only thing he's got to live for. Play on that, son.
Yeah, but suppose...
Here, you forgot this.
Hey, no. I left that back in my room.
Yeah, I know, and so I brought it in case you might need it. Slip it inside your coat.
Well...
Atta boy. All right, on time. Go after him as soon as he puts up the ropes.
I don't want this thing.
Son, that man's got to be busy. If you can't keep him busy talking, you shove that thing right under his nose. It'll look terrible to him, even bigger than it is. Remember, he doesn't want to get all shot up. Good luck.
Yeah.
Sorry, sir. After hours.
You mean it's 3 already?
Afraid it is. There's the clock.
Well, it must be fast. I got 2 minutes out.
I guess you're slow, sir.
Well, you couldn't sneak me in, I suppose.
Strictly against the house rules. No, sir.
Well, look, one customer more or less isn't going to make any difference, is it?
I'm sorry. Once the rope's up, I can let them out, but I can't let them in.
Well, this sure puts me in a spot.
Is it a deposit?
No, I have a piece of property going through escrow now. I just found out the man I sold it to is declaring bankruptcy. Escrow's up at 10 tonight, and I don't want him to have my property. Would you?
Oh, I should say not.
Well, look, if you could just let me in there to talk to the escrow people, I can get myself out of a lot of trouble. What do you say?
Well, I think I can help you.
Good. I'll appreciate it.
Now, look. Mr. Evers, head of the escrow division, is here until 5. Now, the operator isn't supposed to...
I was looking over his shoulder, past him, inside the bank. I could see John Barry in front of one of the teller's cages, helping himself to a bag full of money. Martin Collins was standing right in the middle of the lobby, his right hand stuck down inside his coat pocket. Every one of the tellers were looking at him with a sort of wide eye, like they couldn't believe it. Old John was nudging somebody in front of him. Looked like a vice president. And they just kept going from cage to cage where he'd pick up the cash. Nobody made a move. I don't think any of the customers that were in there, or anybody else outside the tellers, knew the place was being robbed.
Well, what is it? Aren't you going to call Mr. Evers?
Huh?
Well, what are you looking...
Move back!
Hey!
Back! Or I'll let go!
Look, are you crazy?
What happened, Scotty? Why'd you shoot him? It just went off! It just went off!
Get out of here, boys.
I didn't mean to shoot him. I didn't want to shoot him. You guys know that, don't you?
All right, shut up, Scotty.
I didn't want to. Honest, I didn't want to. I didn't want to do any of this. You guys made me do it. You talked me into doing it. That's what you did. And I'm going to tell them, too. I'm going to tell them everything you made me do, and then they won't do anything to me.
Never mind, Martin. Over there. He's got a gun on us.
Wow.
Hey, they're coming.
That's right. You can tell them anything you want.
All right, all of you. Come out of that car one at a time with your hands up.
Well, suppose I should never have given him the gun, Martin.
I suppose so, John.
Come out or we'll open fire.
Come on, son. Let's see what these police officers want to talk about.
This John Barry, and remember, he's the best. looked like any old geezer you'd find filling prescriptions behind a drugstore counter or reading books in a public library on Sunday afternoons. But let me tell you, he had it. Every time he opened his mouth, he made sense. He was pretty good at that old chatter, too. In fact, I'd say he was just about that much better than me.
Suspense. Presented by Autolite. Tonight's star, Mr. John Hodiak.
This is Harlow Wilcox speaking for Autolite. And here once again is our star, John Hodiak. Well, John, it was good to have you back on Suspense after a long absence.
Thanks, Harlow. And thanks to Autolite for inviting me. Suspense is truly radio's outstanding theater of thrills. And I consider it a privilege to be a part of it.
And, John, it's satisfying to be a part of the Autolite family, for Autolite is one of the great names in American industry.
Indeed it is, Harlow.
World's largest independent manufacturer of automotive electrical equipment, the Autolite family includes 98,000 distributors and dealers in the United States and thousands more in Canada and throughout the world.
Well, no wonder I find Autolite service wherever I go.
Right you are, John. And friends, remember, every Autolite product is backed by constant research and precision built to the highest standards of quality and performance. So, from bumper to tail light, you're always right with Autolite.
Next week, the story of a man who had everything to live for and committed murder to prove it to himself. The story is called Joker Wild, and our stars will be Kathy and Elliot Lewis. That's next week on Suspense. Suspense is produced and directed by Elliot Lewis, with music composed by Lucian Morowick and conducted by Lud Gluskin. The Big Heist was written for Suspense by E. Jack Newman. In tonight's cast, Herb Butterfield was John and Joseph Kearns, Collins. Featured in the cast were Junius Matthews, Charles Calvert, Ted Bliss, Bert Holland, and Jerry Hausner.
John Hodiak is currently appearing in Allied Artists' Battle Zone.
Remember, next week, Kathy and Elliot Lewis in Joker Wild.
You can buy Autolite Stay-Full batteries, Autolite electrical parts, and Autolite resistor or standard type spark plugs at your neighborhood Autolite dealers. Switch to Autolite. Good night.
200%. That's how much mail volume increases during the holiday season. If you want to be certain that packages and greetings reach their destination before Christmas, mail early. Mail now. This is the CBS Radio Network.
Lights out. Everybody. This is the witching hour. It is the hour when dogs howl and evil things are let loose on a sleeping world. Sit in the dark now and listen to Lights Out.
So you don't believe in ghosts, huh? Let me tell you something, friend. Guys that don't believe in ghosts is guys that ain't never seen none, ain't that right? Listen, I can tell you a ghost story that'll make your hair curl. I'll say it'll make your hair curl. Listen. Last August I was nabbed by a couple of coppers. Never mind the details. It just so happened that they come up on me when I was sticking up a filling station, and, well, they drugged me in. It was a tough rap to beat, since they got me standing there flat-footed holding a gun on one of the filling station guys, and, well, the coppers didn't like me anyway. Huh? Oh, yeah, sure. 'Cause I'd had to bump off a copper a week or two before. And wouldn't it be my luck to be picked up by this guy's partner? Well, they took me in, and they decided to show me the goldfish. You don't know what that is, huh? Well, I'll tell you.
You're a liar.
Yeah? So what, copper?
You rat. I know you've knocked off Ambrose Hogan, and you're gonna fry for it.
You gotta prove it first, Miller.
Pull the light over this way a little more, John.
Okay.
Right in his eyes. I'll prove it, rat.
Go ahead.
Hand me the hose, John.
Now, look here. Don't you go ahead.
Now, what do you say?
I'm not gonna rat you no back.
You ain't, huh?
You wait till I get to a mouthpiece, Miller. You'll be walking a beat out in Circleville where the out.
It won't make no difference to you, punk, where I'm walking a beat, not when you're burned.
Yeah? Who's gonna burn me?
You knocked off Ambrose Hogan.
I was in Omaha the night he got knocked off.
Listen, Maxie. Get this now. Ambrose Hogan was a white guy. When I seen him laying on a slab downstairs, I took a solemn oath I'd get the rat that done it if it took me 50
You ought to hire a hawk. I'll get you for this, copper.
I don't think you're going to get anything out of him, Miller.
There's a smart copper, Miller.
Yeah? Listen, I got a way to get things out of smart guys like you, Maxie. Come on over here, John.
What are you going to do? Listen, Miller.
Shut up.
I want a lawyer. You got to let me have a lawyer. You can't get away.
You want to sing, Maxie? Or do you want to spend a few hours in the haunted cell upstairs?
The what? Oh, another gag, huh?
Think so? Listen, I bet you $8 you change your mind, baby. Get up.
What are you doing?
Get going. Go ahead, John. Open the door.
Okay. What are you going to do to me? You can't get away.
Never know Skeeter Dempsey, Maxie. Come on, this way.
What about him? They burned him last winter.
Yeah, that's right. Friend of yours?
I knowed him.
Well, that's just fine, Maxie. Yes, sir, that'll be just dandy.
What you asking about Skeeter Dempsey for, Miller?
Skeeter killed a copper, too.
So what?
It's bad business to kill coppers, Max. All ready, John?
All ready, yeah.
Right this way, Maxie, my boy.
What you up to?
I'll tell you. Right in there, baby. Get in there, you. Now, listen. This here's the cell that Skeeter Dempsey was locked up in when he first came here. He liked the cell, Maxie. He still likes it.
What do you mean?
He'll probably be around to see you before the night's over.
Yeah? Another one of your gags, huh? Well, you won't kid me, copper.
This whole corridor, Maxie. You're the only guy in it. Except Skeeter Dempsey. We'll see what a night here with him will do to you, huh, John?
Yeah.
If you get scared, Maxie, just call. Just yell. Nobody will pay any attention to you. Nobody at all. Except maybe Skeeter Dempsey. Good night, Max. Come on, John.
Hey, listen now.
Pleasant dreams, you rat.
You can't scare me, Miller.
I know your gags. You can't scare me.
No, we'll see about that.
Ghosts. Hey, I want a lawyer.
Good night, Maxie.
Hey, you can't turn the lights out on me. Miller, turn the lights back on, Miller. You can't leave me here in the dark.
Can't, huh?
Miller, why, you flat-footed. Miller, come back here. Miller, I'm scared. Turn the lights on, Miller. For the love of Mike, I'm scared of the dark. Go on. Turn the lights on, Miller. Please. Miller, listen. Take me out of here and...
Cut out the yelling and sit down.
Who are you?
Don't you know me, Maxie? I'm Skeeter Dempsey.
You can't be. It's a gag. Listen, copper.
I'm no copper, Max. Sit down. Let's talk about things.
Where are you?
Right here.
Wait till I light a match. I want to see what you look like.
You'll be surprised, Max.
There ain't nobody here.
Oh, yes, there is, Maxie. I'm right here beside you, kid.
Yeah? It was Skeeter Dempsey, all right. I recognized his voice right away. When I lit the match and couldn't see nobody there, I guess I fainted. I remember trying to yell, only my voice wouldn't work, and when I come to, I was laying on the cell floor. For a minute, I couldn't figure out what happened, and then it all come back to me. You know how it is when you're really scared? Or maybe you've never been real scared, huh? Well, I'll tell you. My mouth was so dry I couldn't hardly breathe. All I could hear was my heart pumping away as loud as an old flivver engine. I was too scared to say a word. I just crawled up onto the bunk and laid there. Listening.
So I scared you, huh, Maxie?
Listen, go away now. Whoever you are, go away, go away.
Oh, shut up. I ain't gonna hurt you.
I could pray you away.
No, you couldn't, Maxie. You couldn't pray me away. What they got you in here for?
Bumping off. Nothing.
You knocked off that Hogan guy, didn't you? Well, it's too bad for you, Max.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you still here?
Sure.
You ain't Skeeter Dempsey.
Yes, I am.
Listen, Skeeter Dempsey was burned last winter. I know a reporter that seen him set in a chair.
That's right.
Well, then you ain't Skeeter Dempsey.
Yes, I am.
I know you're Skeeter. I know.
Stop jittering. I ain't gonna hurt you.
But you're a ghost.
Well, what if I am?
I wish you'd go away.
Why should I? This is my cell, after all.
Oh, Skeeter, please.
Oh, can I? Listen, let's talk. I haven't had nobody to talk to for 2 months.
Who'd you talk to then?
George Brown. You remember him?
Yeah, Heist guy, yeah. Hey, George Brown hung himself in a cell here.
Yeah. This cell.
This cell?
Uh-huh. Him and me sat up and talked all night. And he hung himself next day.
What did he hang himself for?
Oh, he'd have got burned anyway. They had him for 2 jobs. One knocking off an old lady for $70,
And the other shooting that bank guy down in Springfield.
Did you see him hang himself, Skeeter?
No, I wasn't here at the time.
Where was you?
Oh, I was away.
Skeeter?
Yeah?
What does it feel like to be dead?
All right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
What's the matter?
Well, what about hell and all that?
You get used to it.
My old lady used to make me go to Sunday school, and they used to talk about hell there. Fire and everything.
There ain't no fire.
Ain't they?
No. It's worse than that.
What? What's it like?
You'll find out.
If I get out of this rap, I think I'll go straight.
You're too late, Mac.
No, I ain't. I'll beat it.
No, you won't. You gotta croak.
Sometime, yeah.
You'll croak on this rap.
How do you know?
I know. There's one way you could get out of some of the hell, though, Mac.
How?
Bump yourself off.
What do you mean?
Well, if you wait for the law to punish you, that's one thing. If you take the law in your own hands and, well, kind of punish yourself, it'll make a difference.
Is it pretty tough, Skeeter?
What, hell?
Dying.
It hurts awful. The chair, I mean. You go in feeling pretty cocky and figuring you can take it and you're going to be a tough guy and all. And then...
What then, Skeeter?
All of a sudden you find you can't take it. You don't want to yell and scream, but... Well, it's awful.
God. What then, Skeeter?
You ain't never had no pain in all your life, Max. Can begin to compare with the chair.
Yeah?
You'll find out.
Do you really think I will, Skeeter?
What do you think?
I wonder how it feels to bump yourself off.
George Brown said it was all right. Kind of made him feel better, he said.
He said?
Yeah, I seen him the day after.
Oh. Huh?
If I was you, Max, I think I'd do it.
Yeah. I'm not going to bump myself off. I won't do it. These lousy coppers ain't going to make me. Who's that?
Miller, I guess.
Is that you, Miller?
Who was you talking to, Maxie? Skeeter Dempsey?
Listen, Miller, let me out of here. No kidding, let me out. Put me any place you want to, but listen, Miller.
Scared, Maxie? Who was you talking to, Maxie? Skeeter Dempsey?
Miller, well, no. Listen, Miller, turn on the lights. Will you turn them on, Miller, just for a minute?
Dark's got you down, huh?
Miller, please, turn on the lights.
Oh, why not? It'll be darker still when I turn them off again. What's the matter now?
Miller, there ain't anybody here.
That's right. Was Skeeter in here with you, kid?
I thought there ain't anybody here.
Oh, yes, there is, Max.
I wouldn't worry about it,
I'm
Max.
right here beside you. And I'm going to stay.
They kept me in that cell there for 4 weeks. Every once in a while, Miller'd come in and stand there in front of the door and laugh at me. Gonna sign a confession, Maxie? He'd say. Oh, I wasn't gonna give him nothing. But that place got me. Just as soon as it was dark, I'd hear Skeeter Dempsey's footsteps and he'd come and sit down with me. I was awful scared at first. It's kind of hard to get used to practically living with a ghost. But then I kind of got used to him. It was always telling me how I was going to burn and how I'd be better off to hang myself like George Brown done. I guess I was a little bit nuts. Miller wouldn't let me have no lawyers either. They was keeping me in there without knowing anything about it so as they could hand me the rap when the time come. Well, the time come. Someplace or other, Miller dug up the evidence that I wouldn't give them, and they had me. And how they had me. So one morning, a few weeks later, I'm sitting in the courtroom. The jury's been out 20 minutes.
Everybody rise. Sit down. Gentlemen of the jury, have you arrived at a verdict?
We have, Your Honor.
Will you pass the verdict to the bailiff, please?
We, the jury, find the defendant, Max Young, guilty of murder in the first degree.
Mr. Foreman, is this your verdict?
It is, Your Honor.
The defendant will rise.
Get up, Maxie.
Max Young, have you anything to say before sentence is passed on you?
Well, no, Your Honor.
You realize that in a verdict of guilty of first-degree murder, the death penalty is mandatory?
Yeah. Yeah, Your Honor.
Very well, then. It is the sentence of this court that you are to be taken from this place and between the 21st and the 30th of December, shot to death by electricity. And may God have mercy on your soul.
All right, Maxie. Come on this way. Well, Max, that's that.
Yeah. What'd you say?
I didn't say nothing.
It was me, Max. I said there's only one way out. No.
Well, so that was that. They wasn't ready to send me down to the state prison where they bump off guys, so they kept me in this here wing of the county jail where they had me, in Skeeter Dempsey's old cell. I guess this guy Miller must have liked his pal Ambrose Hogan quite a lot, the guy I knocked off. Huh? Sure I knocked him off. What's the use of kidding around? Yeah, I guess he must have thought a lot of him, 'cause he kept me in there where it was dark, where I'd be scared to death all the time. Really getting even. But I kind of fooled him. I wasn't so scared of Skeeter by this time. I got so I'd sit in the dark there and be waiting for him. And we'd talk about everything in the world. It was funny. People out of history and funny places and stuff and a lot of things. Skeeter told me he saw a lot of the guys we talked about. Nero and Judas Iscariot. But why not? He was dead, wasn't he? And so was they. Oh, but I gotta hurry up with my ghost story, ain't I? That's right. What I was gonna say was, I was sitting there one night, the 23rd it was, day before Christmas Eve, sitting in the dark, and I heard Skeeter coming. Hello, Skeeter.
Hello, Max. How you feeling?
Not so hot.
Still thinking about the hot squad, huh?
What else you expect me to think about? I wish they'd hurry up and get it over with. That's what I wish.
It's tomorrow night.
What is?
They burned you.
On Christmas Eve?
Yep.
Honest, Skeeter? How do you know?
I found out.
Oh, God.
Well, don't take it so hard. I'll walk in with you when they take you to the chair. I'll stand right there alongside you.
Will you, Skeeter? Will you, honest?
Sure. Won't do you much good, though.
Why?
I can't keep it from hurting you.
Honest, Skeeter, does it hurt a lot? Or is it all over with pretty quick?
It seemed to me to last 100 years.
Oh, I'm a sucker for pain, Skeeter.
Are you?
Sure. I cut my finger once. I put in there croaked with the pain.
You ain't felt nothing yet.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Gee, I remember, too, when I busted my leg. My old lady sat up all night holding my hand and me bawling.
This'll feel like 1,000,000 busted legs.
Listen, Skeeter.
What?
Didn't you say George Brown told you it didn't hurt much bumping yourself off?
That's what he said. What?
I was wondering.
Well, I know what I'd do if I was in your place.
Yeah? Would you bump yourself off?
Yeah.
I don't think I got the guts to do it, Skeeter.
It ain't hard. You got a belt. You could get it around your neck and climb up on the bunk and fasten the belt to the bars up above. Then all you got to do is jump off.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it would help you out if you did.
What do you mean?
Well, you know, I told you. Kind of punishing yourself, see?
I know. But I can't, Skeeter. I can't. I don't want to die.
Well, it's all right with me. I was just telling you. Believe me, lad, I know what I'm talking about.
Do you, honest, Skeeter? Do you?
Yeah.
I wish I had the guts to do it.
I don't care what you do, Maxie. Only you're going to get burned tomorrow night anyway. And if you want to get out of the most awful pain you ever had, do yourself a good turn at the same time. Well?
I wonder what it feels like.
George Brown said it only hurt for a minute.
He never had much guts. That I remember.
No. Here comes Miller. Gonna tell you, I guess.
Yeah.
You don't look very happy.
You what? Can you see in the dark?
Yeah.
Hello, Max.
Hello, Miller.
Want me to turn on the lights?
I don't care.
You getting used to the dark?
Yeah.
Well, I'll turn them on anyway. Well, Max, it's about the end of the string now.
Tomorrow, huh?
Yeah.
Well, that makes you and me even.
Listen, Max. I wanted to see you knocked off on account of Ambrose Hogan. I
ain't sore, Miller.
You know.
Yeah. No hard feelings, Miller. It's your job being a copper and mine being a hood.
Yeah. Well, is there anything you want, Maxie?
No, I guess not.
You ain't got no folks?
No.
I could get you a bottle of bourbon if you wanted it.
Nah, what's the use?
Well, we got to get ready to go down to the state prison in a little while. They got to... Well, I mean, that's where you got to go.
Do I have to go today?
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, kind of hate to leave this place at that.
Do you?
Yeah. Scared me quite a lot at first, but I guess it's taught me a lot. Being here in the dark all alone.
Except for me, Max.
Yeah.
Well, Max, listen. Try to take it standing up, will you? You know.
I'll try, Miller. But it's going to be awful tough.
Yeah. Well, look, I'll be back in a little bit and we'll go. Sure there ain't anything you want me to get, Maxie?
No.
All right. Oh. All I'm sorry, Max.
Huh? It's okay, Miller. Forget it.
I told you, Max.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta be going. So long, Maxie.
You going, Skeeter?
Yeah. I'll, see you tomorrow night.
But listen, Skeeter, don't go away now.
I have to. And just in case you decide to do what George Brown did, there's an extra piece of rope under the mattress. You won't have to use your belt. So long.
Well, there you are. That's your ghost story. You believe in ghosts now? You don't? Well, you oughta. You see, I took Skeeter's advice. I hung myself. I've been dead 6 months.
All right. You can turn them on now.
You have just heard the third in the summer series of Lights Out. Tonight's story featured Norman Gottschalk as Maxie, Stanley Shule as Skeeter Dempsey, and Roy Engel as Miller. Boris Aplon was heard as the judge, and Nathan Davis as Johnny. Next Saturday night, come 9 o'clock, we've got a story cooked up for you that ought to give you a chill in the hottest weather. Two master magicians, both in the inner cult of Haitian voodooism, lock horns in a titanic struggle which comes to a climax over the Chicago airport. So you'd better make a mental note to be near your radio next Saturday evening. Lights Out is produced and directed by Albert Cruz. This is NBC, the national broadcasting company.
And now, stay tuned for the mystery program that is unique among all mystery programs. Because even when you know who is guilty, you always receive a startling surprise at the final curtain. In the Signal Oil program, The Whistler. Signal, the famous Go Farther gasoline, invites you to sit back and enjoy another strange story by The Whistler.
I am the Whistler, and I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak.
And now for the Signal Oil Company, The Whistler's strange story. Lady in Waiting.
Gene Collins' feelings didn't match the day at all. It was spring in San Francisco, and the city had a way of catching the spirit of such occasions. Gene entered a substantial-looking office building, paused near a flight of stairs, her eyes examining the directory, until they came to rest on John Bradley, attorney at law, room 208. Gene went up the stairs, forcing herself, determined to keep the appointment, even though she was more afraid than ever. When she opened the door, the secretary ushered her into Bradley's office.
Oh, hello. You're Miss Jean Collins.
Yes, I called.
Yes, of course. Sit down, Miss Collins.
Thank you.
You seem nervous. Is there something?
It's just that I'm not sure you can help me, Mr. Bradley, and no one else knows what I'm about to tell you.
And no one else will. Whether I handle the case or not. That make it easier?
Yes, much. Well, it's quite simple, in a way, the facts, I mean. You see, I was keeping company with someone a number of months ago. At the time, I thought he was a very fine man.
Go on.
I wasn't in love with him, but he was kind and thoughtful and in love with me. I only tell you that so you understand.
I do understand.
Well, anyway, he wanted me to marry him. He said we'd go away, travel around the world for a few years. He kept talking about that. I'm afraid that waiting for me to give him an answer is what kept me here.
Well, the case isn't too unusual yet, Miss Collins.
I haven't told you his name. He's Frank Hodgson.
Hodgson? Not the one...
Yes. Believe me, I didn't know any more about that part of his life than anyone else. He never told me. And to meet him, Mr. Bradley, you'd never guess. He was a perfect gentleman. I'd never met anyone
He got 20 years, didn't he?
Yes.
I remember reading about it. Quite a list of charges. You doubt his guilt, is that it? Want me to...
No, Mr. Bradley, that isn't it.
Well, I'm glad. The evidence against him at the trial was pretty conclusive.
Yes, I know. I want you to do something else. Maybe you won't be able to, I'm not sure. Frank might be stubborn about it.
Have you seen him?
No, he refused to see me. My name never came up as far as the rest of the world knows. I never even knew him.
Mm-hmm. Then your problem?
Every month, in the mailbox at my apartment, I find an envelope filled with currency.
That's a problem?
You don't understand. I know that somehow Frank Hardison's sending that money. I want it stopped. I haven't touched the cent of it. I don't want to. But I thought if a lawyer talked to him, explained to Frank that he's really doing me more harm than good. You see, I have a rather responsible position, Mr. Bradley, and the people I work with ever thought...
Of course. Why don't you go home and forget it, Miss Collins? I'll handle it. I'll drive up and see Hardison tomorrow.
Oh, thank you. Well, when will I know? I'll be terribly anxious.
Could you meet me here about 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. You see, I'm with a publicity concern, Mr. Bradley. We have an important meeting, a client, tomorrow afternoon.
Well, then why not meet me after hours? The Blue Star Cocktail Lounge, 6 o'clock.
All right.
And I'll have all the answers for you.
I hope so.
It's easier now, isn't it, Gene? Now that your problem is being shared. And somehow you feel a sense of confidence in attorney John Bradley. Riding home in a cab, you hope that it will go as simply as Bradley seems to anticipate. In front of the Oxford Arms, you're suddenly aware that the cab is stopped. That the Oxford Arms doorman is smiling at you, waiting for you to step out.
You with us, Miss G?
What? Oh, sorry, Dan. Dreaming again. Here you are, driver.
Thank you, miss. As a fine spring day like this, Miss G, you should leave that desk of yours and get outside. Go for a walk through Golden Gate Park. Nothing like being outdoors.
Dan, you're wonderful. How are you feeling?
Well, it's spring.
No, I mean really.
Oh, no. I'm all right. I'm fine.
You think you could work like this, Dan?
Well, it's outdoors. Doctor says that's where I ought to be.
All right. Just worried about you.
You know, this would be more like you, Miss Green. The way you looked and acted the past few days, I guess you've got things on your own mind.
Dan, they should be more like you. You notice that? Now, it's just a business worry, Dan. And I think it'll be all cleared up by tomorrow evening.
A toast to Miss Collins, to no more worries and an uninhibited future.
Oh, Mr. Bradley, I'm so glad it went that way.
You're not drinking.
Oh, well, I really don't feel like it. I'm just happy that Frank didn't give you any trouble, that he understood.
Oh, he did, perfectly. And you're right. Frank Hardison seems like a nice guy.
Yes, it's hard to believe he could have done all those other things.
Oh, I don't know. In my line, you soon discover that most people have many different sides. But let's talk about you. You still have a problem.
Oh?
Mm-hmm, yourself. Well, you've been brooding about all this. Can I help you forget it some way?
Huh?
Oh, good start might be a steak dinner at Rocco's Castle. You can look down at the city and tell it that Gene Collins isn't going to worry anymore about anything.
I shouldn't.
You should.
Is this a service you provide for all your clients, Mr. Bradley?
No. You pay for it if you like. I'll be your first charity.
What do you mean?
All that money that's accumulated, Hardison doesn't want it back. He hasn't much use for it where he is. He suggests that you deduct my fee and give the rest to your favorite charity.
Oh?
And my fee includes a steak dinner. Fair enough? Then I'll drive you straight home.
All right. Fair enough, Mr. Bradley.
There you are, Gene, right to the door.
Mr. Bradley, you've been so wonderful.
John.
Oh, John. You've been very kind. I do appreciate it.
Your favorite lawyer, huh?
Absolutely. Oh, it's all right. You don't have to come up. The doorman's still on duty.
Will I see you soon?
Well, I don't know.
Gene.
Yes?
Get in trouble again right away, will you? I'll handle it.
Idiot. Good night.
I'll try. Good night.
Well, evening, Miss Jean.
Hello, Dan.
Well, the spring days kept alive into the night. You're happy, Miss Jean.
Yes. Good night, Dan. Oh, wait a minute.
Did you get something, Miss Jean?
No. Dan?
Yes?
Dan, I don't want you to think I'm poking my nose into other people's business, but I want to ask you something.
Sure, Miss.
You're not really very well, are you, Dan? No, please. I just want to know, if you had some money, quite a bit of money, is there any doctor that could help you?
Miss Jean, there should be more like you. Man, I'll not forget this. I'll tell you this. A long time ago, I had all the care of a man today. That's all it. I'm just standing by the door now, waiting my turn. Oh, please, forget it, please. Only, I won't ever forget you.
Good night,
In the days that follow, you see more and more of John Bradley, don't you, Jim? There are evenings at the theater, dancing, dining at the smart clubs down the peninsula. And you find yourself becoming extremely fond of him. You look forward to each meeting with increasing interest. Then one evening you say goodnight to John in the lobby of your apartment building. Go upstairs. As you're about to open your apartment door...
Just a minute, Jeannie.
Oh, what?
I'm going in with you.
Here,
Skip it, huh? Inside. And don't holler. I'm your favorite charity.
Where did you...
One of the boys was up to see Frank Hardison a few days ago. Frank told him you hadn't spent any of the money he sent you. You were going to give it to your favorite charity, Miss Collins.
What do you want?
Oh, we'll start off with you getting your check here. Write out the full amount of Frankie Hardison's little donation. You didn't know it, but I was a partner of Frankie's deal. I don't like the way he's running our business, so I'm changing things a little. First, the check.
You can't ask me to...
I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. I'll tell you something else. You better forget your boyfriend. John Bradley. He's out, crossed off your books. You mustn't see him anymore.
He's done nothing.
Not yet, but he's a lawyer. I don't like lawyers. I like to hang around them. Well, Frank's good.
Frank's good?
Yeah, he's been for 20 years, I guess. So you're a lady in waiting. Anyway, that's how it is. The only way that's safe for me.
I tell you, Mr.
Start. Joey, start. Like I said, I'm telling you, no more lawyer. No more doing things any way but mine.
I'll go to the police.
You'll go no place. If you do when I can't get back to you. And your friend,
John Bradley after the signature. You got an idea? Yeah, here, Jeannie. My pen. You can write that check out now to your favorite charity, Joey Stark.
For 9 consecutive years now, Signal Oil Company has been sponsoring The Whistler. That's a long time for a radio program, yet short compared with the 21 years Signal has served the West. However, just as The Whistler has grown to be the most popular West Coast program in radio history, Signal has grown too, grown from a small start in Southern California into an organization now serving 7 Pacific Coast states from Canada to Mexico. Now, obviously, there must be good reasons why so many motorists have switched to Signal gasoline. And there are. There's the good mileage, which has made Signal famous as the Go Farther gasoline. There's the way Signal delivers that good mileage by helping your engine run so efficiently you save gasoline. Save with quick starting, save with smooth pickup, free of balking and hesitation. Save with full power that gets you into high gear fast, helps you stay there, with a minimum of shifting on hills or in traffic. But for the full story behind the growing switch to Signal, there's just one way to find out, an easy way, a quick way. Try, just try, 1 tankful of the famous Go Farther gasoline. How about it?
Vanished in an instant, didn't it, Gene? The hope for a bright, clean future. It disappeared when your past association with Frank Hardison came calling again. This time in the person of Joey Stark. Joey, who says he was Frank Hardison's partner, won't believe that you didn't know what was going on. Had no knowledge of the sort of deals that sent Frank to prison for 20 years. More than that, Joey Stark made you give him a check for all the money Frank Hardison sent you. And he insists that you stop seeing John Bradley. Joey's afraid of lawyers, afraid of anything that might put him where Frank is. So desperately afraid that he'd commit murder. You know that. That's why for the next 3 days you refuse to see John Bradley. You leave word you won't talk to him even on the telephone.
Yes?
Miss Jean, this is Dan downstairs. He's calling me again, that Mr. Bradley. He won't take no for an answer.
Well, he'll have to. I can't talk to him.
The terrible part is the realization that you love John Bradley, isn't it, Gene? That you don't want to give him up. Later, as you leave the apartment, you find something else. A note downstairs in the mailbox. Orders from Mr. Joey Stark to meet him tonight. You hurry downtown to your office.
Oh, Miss Collins.
Yes, Jimmy?
A client to see you, Miss Collins. She's waiting in your office.
A client? I wasn't expecting it.
No? Well, gosh, he said he'd talk to you. Insisted on going right in.
I can't remember. Well, thanks, Jimmy. I'll go see.
Hello, Jane.
John, you shouldn't have come here.
I'm staying right here until you talk to me. Until you tell me what's wrong. Close the door.
But... It's nothing, John.
Why have you refused to see me? Why aren't you in when I call?
John,
You even have the doorman at your apartment making excuses when I know he's lying. Jane, if it's something I've done...
No, you haven't done anything.
Then who has? What's it all about?
John, if I tell you, if I give you the real reason, will you go away? Promise me.
Tell me, Jane. Hey, I'm the guy that said get in trouble, remember? Your favorite lawyer? Come on.
Well, someone called on me. A man I never saw before. He said he was Frank Hardison's partner.
Oh?
You wouldn't believe I don't know about Frank. You won't trust me. I didn't want you mixed up in it anymore. It's no use. I should have known about Frank. Should have found out long ago.
Who is this man, Gene? Where is he?
His name is Joey Stark. That's all I can tell you. He sent word for me to meet him tonight.
No, you're not.
Oh, but I am. I have to.
No. No, I'll meet him.
Oh, you can't. He'd kill you. He said so.
Let me handle it. Maybe it's just a bluff.
No.
I'll talk to him like I did with Frank. Please, Jean, I'll be careful. Tell me where you were supposed to meet him.
There's a very demanding note. Have it in my purse. It's all there. Hotel on Ellis Street.
When you get through here, go home. Wait for me to call. Don't open the door or talk to anyone.
John, please, will you...
I'll handle it. Just wait until I call.
Waiting isn't easy, is it, Gene? Not when you realize what might happen. The afternoon at the office drags on, almost endlessly. You catch a hurried dinner on the way home, scarcely touching the food. And then home, to an apartment that seems to turn into a prison cell. You pace it nervously, retracing your steps, staring at the telephone. About 9 o'clock, it's almost too much to bear any longer. And then...
Yes?
Jane?
John, are you all right?
There's nothing to worry about.
Did you go to his hotel?
Yes.
You saw him?
Yes, Jane. We'd better not talk anymore on the phone.
Can you come over?
I don't think I should.
John, is everything all right?
There's nothing to worry about. I'll come by in the morning before you go to work. Please, Jane, it's best that way. And in the meantime...
Yes?
No matter what you might hear, remember, there's nothing to worry about. Nothing at all. Not now.
As the receiver clicks in your ear, you wonder what he means by not now. But there's no use trying to guess, Gene. Nothing to do but wait until morning. You spend an almost sleepless night, and then rush to the door to greet him as the buzzer sounds.
Oh, John, I've been so... Who are you?
Lieutenant Williams, homicide, and Miss Sergeant Lacey. Maybe step in, Miss Collins.
Homicide? I don't understand.
There's some things we don't understand, Miss Collins. Can we talk it over?
Mm-hmm. Sit down.
It won't be necessary. I'll come right to the point, Miss Collins. Did you write this check to Joey Stark?
Oh, yes. Yes, I did. What did you say?
We found it on the body of Joey Stark.
On the body?
That's right. He was found late last night, brought into the morgue. Took a little while to look you up, but naturally we're interested in learning the connection between you and this man. That's quite a sum.
Oh, please, I don't know anything about it. Of course, I wrote the check, but I...
For what? Did you go to Joey Stark's hotel at any time last night?
No.
You didn't leave your apartment here, I suppose.
No, I didn't go there. I tell you, I was supposed to, but something happened. I changed my mind.
Lacey.
Yeah?
The doorman on duty. Get him and bring him up here.
Check.
We'll see if he's got a memory. Now, Miss Collins, why don't you tell me what it's all about? Blackmail setup?
No. I tell you, I...
Oh. Expecting somebody?
No. Whoever it is, I'll send them away.
I wouldn't do that, Miss Collins. We'll both see who it is. I'm quite insistent. Now, go ahead. Open the door.
John, I can't see you now. You can drag me to the office some other time.
Johnny Bradley. Lieutenant Williams. You've lost a little time in calling a lawyer, Miss Collins. A good one, too. Real comer, this one. Come on in.
Gene, how long has he been here? What have you told him?
I work fast, Bradley. You know that. She's told me all I want to know. Namely, that this is her check.
Check? Well, what about it?
John, they found it on Joey Stark's body.
Hey, you folks talk real familiar about Joey Stark. You know him too, Bradley?
Maybe. Why shouldn't he have Miss Collins' check? She gave it to him as a favor for somebody.
Really? Who?
What difference does it make?
None. If she didn't leave this apartment last night, and we'll know that in a minute. Did you find that doorman, Lacey?
Yes, sir. In here, Dan. What is all this? Miss Jean, is there something...
I'll ask the questions if you don't mind, Dan. We're trying to find out if Miss Collins went to a certain address last night. It's to her advantage for you to tell the truth.
Certainly.
Did you notice her leave the building around 9 o'clock, like she said? I'm asking him, Miss Collins. Oh, did she?
Well, Miss Collins never left the building at all last night.
I worked very late, and I haven't seen her.
That satisfy you, Williams? Well, I'm not trying to fasten this thing on anyone, Bradley. I just want the truth.
Dan just told you.
Well, Miss Collins, if I don't doubt you and your witness, I think a jury might.
What do you mean?
Dan Rogers here. I have a very good memory. Let me see. Convicted of perjury in 1929, weren't you, Dan?
What?
Parole for good behavior. Brought back on the same charge in 1932. Served 5 years. A nice, reliable witness.
And riding up here in the elevator, he tells me what a kind young lady Miss Collins is. Offered him money for medical care.
Well, you sound prejudiced enough, Mr. Bradley.
What are you going to do?
Same thing you do in my position. I'm arresting your client, Miss Collins, for murder.
Now, wait a minute.
John, don't.
You've got your murderer, Williams. But it isn't Miss Collins. I did it.
What?
You heard me. I did it. I killed him. If you don't believe it, pick up the cab driver who drove me over there last night.
Out of all the cabs in San Francisco...
His number is 4211. I made a note of it. Get him. He'll remember me. We had trouble finding Stark's address.
You know what this means, Bradley?
I know what it means.
A baby has a way of letting you know when it's time to change. Too bad your car hasn't a way of letting you know when it's time to change oil. Chances are most cars would be saying right now, time to drain out old, sludgy, worn-out winter oil. Time to change to Signal Premium. Signal Premium, heavy-duty Signal Premium. Now, there's the oil that really protects your car. This proved and improved heavy-duty Signal oil does more, much more than just lubricate. In addition, Signal Premium motor oil cools, cleans, cushions, seals, and protects. Result? Tests under all types of driving conditions prove new Signal Premium motor oil reduces engine wear 50%. Your engine keeps its like-new pep and power twice as long. So, since it's time to change, this time give your car a change for the better. Change to new heavy-duty Signal Premium motor oil at a Signal station, where you see that sign outside. Time to change. Time to change.
It's happened, hasn't it, Gene? All that you feared from that very first day when you decided that someone might be able to help you in your problem with Frank Hardison. And there's nothing you can do. It's too late. It was too late the moment you let John Bradley talk you into breaking that appointment with Joey Stark. You're sure that John went there, murdered Stark for you, admitted it to Lieutenant Williams to save you. And now they're about to prove his story. Less than an hour later, as you all wait in your apartment, they have the cab driver who took John Bradley to Stark's hotel. One glance, and he makes the identification.
Yep, I drove him to the hotel about 9 p.m.
That's right.
Oh, John, why didn't you let me
Did you wait while he went up to Stark's room, driver?
Nope. He went up, though. I saw him walk through the lobby and start up the stairs. I picked up another fare and drove off.
I see.
That all, Lieutenant?
Yeah, you can go. You too, Dan.
Hey, wait a minute.
What's the matter?
My other fare. The fare I brought back. It was him.
Dan?
Sure, the old man here. He come walking out of the hotel as Mr. Bradley went in. Passed him.
How about it, Dan?
I never forget a face, Lieutenant.
So that's it, Bradley. Stark was dead when you got there, wasn't he? You lied because you thought that Miss Collins...
Yes. Yes, that's the way it was.
Want to argue the point, Dan?
No, it wouldn't do much good, I guess.
Dan, you killed him. Why?
Wait a minute, Gene. He shouldn't talk in front of the police. Dan, let me handle it.
Oh, don't worry about it, son. They put me on trial. The jury better not stay out too long.
Dan, tell me. Why, how did you even know about Joey Stark?
Oh, I knew about a lot of things, Miss Keene, and it wasn't just for you. It was for Frank.
Frank?
Mm-hmm. Frank Hardison put me on that door downstairs the day you moved in here. I left the envelopes of the money, stopped leaving them, whatever Frank said.
Dan, you once said that someone else paid some medical expenses for you. Was it Frank Hardison?
Yes, Miss Jean, it was Frank.
So that's why you...
This Joey Stark was no friend of Frank's. He was just a cheap hoodlum, blackmailing Miss Jean.
But, Dan, to kill a man just to pay
It
back...
wasn't only that, Mr. Bradley. The lieutenant here will be able to show you when he checks on all those aliases of mine. You'll find one of them was Hardison. You see, Frank Hardison is my boy. He asked me to protect Miss Jean. It was the only fine thing that ever happened to her.
Let that whistle be your signal for the Signal Oil program, The Whistler, each Sunday night at this same time. Meantime, Signal Oil Company and the friendly independent dealers who help you go farther with Signal gasoline hope you'll remember. Regardless of what gasoline you use, you'll enjoy more miles of happy driving. If you drive at sensible speeds, obey traffic regulations, and avoid taking chances, you may even save a life, possibly your own. Featured in tonight's story were Bill Foreman as the Whistler, Mary Jane Croft, John Stevenson, Jack Moyles, Victor Rodman, Ed Mack, and Vern Surrey. The Whistler was produced and directed by George W. Allen, with story by Joel Malone, music by Wilbur Hatch, and was transmitted overseas by the Armed Forces Radio Service. The Whistler is entirely fictional, and all characters portrayed on The Whistler are also fictional. Any similarity of names or resemblance to persons living or dead is purely coincidental. Remember to tune in at this same time next Sunday, when the Signal Oil Company will bring you another strange story by The Whistler. Marvin Miller speaking for the Signal Oil Company. Stay tuned now for our Miss Brooks, starring Eve Arden, which follows immediately over most of these stations. This is the CBS Radio Network.
This is Orson Welles, speaking from London. The Black Museum, a repository of death, a repertorium of violence. Here in the grim stone structure on the Thames, which houses Scotland Yard, is a warehouse of homicide, where everyday objects, a teacup and its saucer, a lady's parasol, a surveyor's chain, all are touched by murder. Now you take this lady's shoe. It's a familiar object, high of heel, neat cross straps, dainty design on the toe, an excellent sample of the art of the modern bootmaker.
Like my new shoes, Henry?
Lovely, my dear. Shows off your instep perfectly. And the way it breaks away from the curve of your arch. Enticing. Definitely enticing, my dear.
Henry, you're impossible. And I love it.
A nice couple talking about a pair of shoes. You'll hear more about that couple and more about the shoes. One of those shoes, by the way, is to be found today in the Black Museum.
From the annals of the Criminal Investigation Department of the London Police, we bring you the dramatic stories of the crimes recorded by the objects in Scotland Yard's Gallery of Death, the Black Museum.
Here we are in the Black Museum, Scotland Yard's mausoleum of murder. Here lies death, yep, entombed neatly with printed labels, with records of names, places, times, each white card a kind of tombstone. Very interesting collection in this museum. Here, There's a gardener's clippers. If you have a hedge around your property, you own one, long, sharp, triangular blades. They're fine for clipping boxwood. Fine, too, it was learned, for clipping jugular veins. And here's a true weapon, a revolver, lady's gun. This little .22. But the lady who used this one summer evening made very sure of her victim. She coated the tiny bullets with cyanide. Yes, and the shoe. Oh, the pair of them, of course. Charming, delightful. That's the type of fragile footwear a lady of some means would be expected to own. Elizabeth Marlowe was just such a lady. And she bought the shoes to please Henry Higley, who had persuaded her that her age of nearly 40 was not too old for marriage. And she wore them as she drove through the stormy night, which marked the beginning of her honeymoon.
The storm seems to be getting worse, Henry, darling.
Don't worry, my dear. Here's the inn. The light's just ahead.
Too bad the house wasn't ready for us tonight.
Our first night in our own house?
I'd have loved it, dear. It's so charming, so Elizabethan, from half timbers to the moat. Imagine a house with a moat.
I wanted something Elizabethan, darling. After all, it'll be a setting for my Elizabeth.
Gay, happy conversation, honeymoon talk. In spite of the rain pouring over the windshield. In spite of the dramatic lightning and the rolling thunder. Henry helped Elizabeth out of the worst of the rain, handed her a fine little terrier named Patsy, which Elizabeth had insisted on bringing with her, and then knocked on the door of Webley's Inn.
Sorry to keep you waiting. Come in, please.
I'm Henry Higley, and this is my wife. You're...
Martha Webley. I've given you up, what with the weather and all. We wouldn't have missed this for the world, Mrs. Webley. The storm. Well, it's almost romantic. Oh, the little dog. Oh, isn't he sweet?
Are our rooms ready, Mrs. Webley?
Oh, of course. And a fire going against the storm. Oh, and may I take the opportunity, ma'am, sir, of wishing you all the happiness.
The Higleys stayed at the Webley Inn for several weeks until the house was ready. The Elizabethan house with the half timbers and the moat standing on the edge of the moor. As Martha Webley put it,
they were so happy. Middle-aged, but happy as kids.
If laughter and enjoyment of simple things is happiness, then Henry and Elizabeth knew happiness. They drove over to their house each day and each evening. They discussed its progress.
Would you like the moat drained, dear?
But the water is part of it. Without the water, it would be just a ditch.
I thought perhaps you'd like to make a rose garden out of it.
But there was a garden at the rear of the house, so the water stayed in the moat. The mock drawbridge was always down, and very soon Henry carried Elizabeth across the bridge and into their home.
Home at last.
It's going to be wonderful, dear.
Glad you bought the place?
We bought it, darling.
With your money, sweet.
What's mine is yours. Ours, darling, always. Now, come along upstairs.
There's always a lot to do in a 10-room house. Nobody with any sense tries to run a place of that size without help. So Henry, with Elizabeth's approval, interviewed several local young ladies.
What's your name, young woman?
June Godwin, sir. And here's my reference.
Yes, I see. Upstairs maid, also parlour maid. Any cooking?
Just plain cooking, sir.
My wife and I are plain people. We thought we'd try to get along without a regular cook, for a while at least.
I'll do my best, sir.
I'm sure you will.
Then I'm hired, Mr. Wickley?
Why not? You've a good reference. That'll please your mistress, and you've your share of good looks. That pleases me.
So that was the way the wind blew, was it? And so soon after the wedding. Well. Little June Godwin went about her business, dismissing the remark as the pleasantry of a new employer who wanted her to feel at home. Now Henry established the custom in that household of giving his wife her breakfast in bed. June prepared the tray and took it upstairs. She'd been doing this for about a week.
My, don't we look fresh and neat and beautiful this morning?
Mr. Higley, please, sir, don't.
Shy, are you, eh? With those eyes and that figure? Come here, little one.
No, sir. Please.
What do the boys hereabouts think of you?
I wouldn't know, sir. If you'll excuse me, sir, I'll take the tray to Mrs. Higley.
Handled herself well, didn't she, for a country girl? There's no nonsense about June Godwin. She needed the job. She was a loyal girl, loyal to her mistress and to herself in a way. Maybe that's why she spoke as she did. She deposited the breakfast tray in Elizabeth Higley's bedroom.
Ma'am, if I can speak to you a minute.
Of course, June. What's the trouble?
It's about Mr. Higley, ma'am.
Oh?
Well, ma'am, it's not that I'm giving my notice or anything, but I'm a nice girl, ma'am.
Of course you are.
Mr. Higley, ma'am, he tried to take privileges this morning.
Perhaps you'd better try to tell me...
June finally managed to tell her mistress the brief details. Elizabeth was hardly pleased, but she showed nothing of her feelings to Henry, at least on that score. Of course, there may have been something more than a slight edge to her tone later that day, as she said to him,
There's a notice from the bank, Henry. It says my account is overdrawn.
Oh? How much?
Almost £300. This never happened to me before I added your signature to the account.
Oh, but there was plenty there.
Oh, I know. But there's a cheque here which I thought was for £30, and it turns out to be for £300.
But I thought I told you, darling, it was £300. In any case, dear, your dividends are due in a few days, so let's not worry about it.
A simple explanation, and very smooth. Just the type of explanation an infatuated woman can be expected to accept, but for Elizabeth, the infatuation and the honeymoon were over. They came to an abrupt end about a week later.
June, little June, I want to see you a moment.
Can it wait till morning, Mr. Higley? Please.
Impossible. I must see you now.
I can't let you in. I'm in bed. I'm not dressed.
That doesn't matter. Let me in, June. I have to talk to you now. I'll use my master key. Open up and let me in. Shut up, you little fool. Open the door. All right, but we'll settle this, and soon.
What's wrong, June? Are you ill?
Oh, Mrs. Higley, Mrs. Higley. Oh, Mrs. Higley, I'm so frightened.
I understand, June. It was my husband. Again. Wasn't it?
The end of the honeymoon. It came quickly after that. Elizabeth said simply,
Henry, I'm leaving you. I'm going to London to talk with my lawyer.
After your talk with him, you'll change your mind. Taking a servant's word against mine. Really, my dear. What train are you making? I'll drive you into town.
A little while later, Henry dropped into the kitchen and told June quite coolly,
I'm driving Mrs. Higley into the station. She's going up to London. I'll pick her up on the 9:45 tonight when she comes back.
At 9:15 that night, Henry told the servant girl,
I'm going in to pick up Mrs. Higley. We should be back a little after 10.
And at 10:15, Henry came back.
Funny. Mrs. Higley wasn't at the station. She must have missed the train and decided to stay in town for the night.
And then the next day...
I've had a letter from Mrs. Higley. She's staying with relatives in London for a few days. Nothing to worry about.
But June did worry. And she took her worries to her mother.
I'm sure he's lying, Mums. I'm sure of it.
Now, Junie, don't be excitable.
I'm not, Mums. I'm not. He told me he was going to the station to call for her, but I didn't hear the car.
Perhaps you weren't paying attention.
He said he had a letter, and the postman never called that morning. And last night he tried to get into my room again. I won't go back, Mums. Now I'm home again, I won't go back.
Orson Welles will be back with you in just a moment.
This was gossip. Oh, yes, gossip indeed. But Mrs. Goodwin restrained herself for a while. After all, there was only one other person in the village who knew the Higleys. That was Mrs. Webley at the inn. Yes, Mrs. Webley.
Now, what's all that? Why,
Why, it's the Higley dog. Patsy. Oh, here, Patsy. What's the trouble, doggy? Miss your mistress, is that it? Do you miss your mistress?
The shoe, by the way, reposes today in an honored position in the Black Museum. A dog howls at the back door and whines with fear. Then it wags its tail and snuffles in appreciation of a pat on the head. But mention its mistress, and the howling begins again. Is this a clue to a possible crime? Certainly it'd have no meaning in a court of law. Clever defense counsel would have it stricken from the records within minutes. But it would have meaning among plain people who are sensitive to many of the laws of nature.
Another cup of tea, Mrs. Godwin.
No, thank you, Mrs. Webley.
June, dearie?
I couldn't touch a thing. I'm so upset about the poor little dog.
Oh, she's all right. I'm sure
But you said you called the moat house, and he came for the dog right away.
Oh, I doubt he'll hurt the little animal.
Has other things on his mind he has, with that one working for him.
That Muriel, you mean?
Exactly. And glad I am that my June up and left him when she did. Have you seen or heard of Mrs. Higley, dear?
Not a word. No sign. But then, maybe she knows about that Muriel.
3 people knew about that Muriel by now. A new hired girl at Henry Higley's house. And before very long, others would know. But this held no foreboding for Henry Higley. Now for that Muriel.
Now, Mr. Higley, you mustn't.
Why not, my dear? Who's to know except you and me?
Oh, Mr. Higley, how you do go on. Oh, Mr. Higley.
Give us a kiss, pretty one. But never say I told you it went with the job.
Oh, well, just one.
Muriel, when are you going to stop calling me Mr. Higley, eh?
A kind of mean paradise surrounded by a moat filled with water, reached by a mock drawbridge which was never raised. And into that pseudo-idyllic setting, across that bridge, there strode a caller. He rang the doorbell.
Yes, sir?
Is Mr. Higley at home?
Who might be calling, sir?
Inspector Sterrett, Scotland Yard.
3 people knew, and soon many more. Word spread, the police evinced some interest. The inspector called and was invited in. He was offered a drink, tea. He refused politely.
Oh, thanks, Mr. Higley. No, I've only a short while. May I ask the whereabouts of Mrs. Higley?
Of course you may ask. As far as I know, she's staying with friends in London. I have some letters if you can't see them.
Oh, we'll take your word for it, Mr. Higley. But there's been some talk, ugly rumors, you understand, I'm sure.
Yes, I had to discharge a servant girl.
We were given to understand she left of her own accord.
Not at all. The girl seemed a trifle hard of hearing. Couldn't hear my car on the driveway. Missed the postman's whistle constantly.
I see. And then there's the little dog. Seems to have been howling a bit.
Oh, if you look out of the window there in the back garden, eh? Seems quite contented, doesn't she?
Yes, she does. Well, thank you very much for the courtesy.
The inspector took his leave. When the door closed behind him, Henry Higley did some thinking. The next day, he spoke to Muriel.
How would you like to take a trip with me, Muriel?
Oh, you mean close up the house?
Why not?
I'm not sure I want to go away. Oh, you're a sweet man, Henry, but I live here.
You've no idea how we could live, what fun we could have. I can draw all the cash from the banks in 10 and 25-pound notes, so it wouldn't take too much room. And we could have a time in London, a real time. I'd buy some...
So Henry planned a little trip. And he took the trip. Oddly enough, Muriel didn't go along. A permanent tie was not in her plans at the moment. She stayed behind in the house with a little dog for company. All was quiet after Henry went away. Quiet, yes. Inactive? No.
Tell me, Mr. Marlowe, when did you last hear from your sister?
Elizabeth wrote us just after she moved into the house with her husband. I'm afraid we never answered her. The family disapproved of Higley, you see.
Oh, any particular reason?
Well, he was penniless. Elizabeth, as you probably know, has a nice income from quite a bit of capital. She bought the house, you see.
Yes, we heard about that. That's one reason we sought you out, Mr. Marlowe.
Are you intimating the possibility of trouble, Inspector?
There's always the possibility when a grown person disappears without a trace. And there have been rumors and a few odd coincidences. In any case, we checked the bank. The manager showed us these papers.
Oh, what are they?
A deed transfer giving full title to the house and property to Henry Higley. Is this your sister's signature, Mr. Marlowe?
Oh, let me see. I need my glasses, I'm afraid. Now then... Oh, strange. Looks like hers. But is she suddenly grown old? It wavers so. There, for instance. The L and the W and the Marlowe. Elizabeth Marlowe Higley. Inspector, I want to compare it with her letters. But I think I can say with reasonable certainty that this is not my sister's signature.
Thank you, Mr. Marlowe. Thank you. To all stations, alert for one Henry Higley, wanted for forgery. Notify all banks. The following serial numbers are of £25 notes connected with forgery case. Appearance of any of these notes to be called to the attention of the local police at once in the usual manner. At long last, the hunt was on. The charge pending. Forgery. The days passed. Nothing was reported, though an occasional banknote with a proper serial number did turn up in the ordinary course of business. Patiently, the places where the notes appeared were charted. First Ramsgate, then Dover. A week later, Folkestone. I imagine we'll find he spent a few days in Paris. After that, Kingston. I expect we'll be hearing from London itself shortly. From London itself.
How long did it take to change a mere £25? One would think the Bank of England had that much cash in small denominations lying about.
Beg pardon, sir. Are you the gentleman wanted to change this note?
I am.
Would you mind stepping this way for a moment, sir?
I'm rather in a hurry. Is something the matter with it?
With the note, no. My credentials, sir.
I see. Detective Inspector Andrews.
And you, sir?
Higley. Henry Higley. Why all the mystery, Inspector?
I'm afraid I shall have to ask you to come with us, sir. You see, the serial number of this banknote and several others have been published in a small matter of forgery.
Forgery? What's that to do with me?
I'm sure you had nothing to do with it, Mr. Higley, and that you will be most anxious to cooperate with the police. This way, sir, if you don't mind.
Henry did mind. His sense of cooperation became stunted quite suddenly. He found very little to tell Inspector Sterrett and Andrews.
Of course I drew the money. It was a joint account. I had a right to.
And what is your explanation of the transfer of the house?
There's none I can give you now. When Elizabeth returns...
Where is your wife, Higley?
She didn't say. Just staying with friends.
Any reason for that?
We had a quarrel. A lover's quarrel. She'll get over it when she comes back.
You seem very certain she will come back.
Have you any reason, Inspector, to doubt that she will?
No, not at the moment, nor any reason to doubt that you will be here awaiting her.
Do you mean to say you're thinking of holding me on charges?
Frankly, we are. You see, Higley, we did a little routine checking. We found that you'd been arrested 3 times, convicted once. In each case, the charge was swindling women who were old enough to know better. So we are holding you, Higley, and the charge is forgery. Now, the direction of the search changed somewhat. Henry Higley was safe, and he'd remain so until Elizabeth Marlowe Higley was found.
There's no right to take the house apart like this. Mr. Higley will...
I'm sorry, my girl. We have a warrant.
I don't understand, sir. What are you looking for?
Not what, my girl. Whom? We're looking for Mrs. Higley.
In the cupboards and under the floor and... No. Oh, it isn't true. It isn't. She went away.
They took the house apart and put it back together again. Nothing. They dragged the moat around the house. Nothing. Then they drained it.
There it is, Sterrett. Dry as it ever will be, and nothing. Not a sign.
Mud looks mighty deep.
It's a quagmire down there. Watch this. Takes that stone as if it were nothing. He couldn't have thrown a body that far out, and there's no sign of anything on the side.
He might have waded out, Andrews. The water wasn't particularly deep.
He'd have gone in up to his waist if he'd tried that. You know, it takes good soil to make mud like that.
Yes, I noticed. Funny the way they let the garden go to seed.
Oh, it's not too bad. Except for that patch of stunted bush over there, where the dog's lying.
Yes, let's have a look at that, shall we?
You never quit, do you, Sterrett?
Human beings can't disappear without a trace. They just don't, that's all. Oh, that's a good dog. There we are. There. These aren't stunted, Andrews. These are new plantings.
You're right. Look here, the whole area, straight to the moat. This earth was turned, and fairly recently, at least 10 yards of it.
That's a ditch, Andrews, a ditch that has been filled in. I think maybe we ought to start digging hereabouts. 8 hours now, and still nothing.
There'll be nothing. Another good idea gone wrong. Shall I tell the men to stop?
Yes, you may as well.
Sterrett, that dog. She's found something.
Yes, something she's recognized. Get those lights over here, man.
All right, they're coming up here. All right, okay, come on, here.
All right. You can start digging again, but carefully now. All around that spot. It's pretty obvious, Andrews. There's a body attached to that lady's shoe. And as I told you at the beginning of this story, that shoe reposes today in an honored position in the Black Museum. The medical examiner swore that a .32 caliber bullet had killed Elizabeth Marlowe. The ballistics expert testified the bullet had come from the gun in Henry Higley's possession the day of his arrest in the Bank of England. Another expert adjusted the noose, placed the white hood over Higley's head, heard the man whisper the admission of his guilt, and sprang the trap. Martha Webley has Patsy now, and the little dog enjoys the fields around Webley's Inn. A fit reward, I think you'll agree, for the faithfulness which brought her mistress's killer to final justice. And as I told you, the dainty shoe remains in its customary position in that big stone building on the Thames in Scotland Yard in the Black Museum. Now, until next time, until another story about the Black Museum, I remain as always obediently yours.
The Mysterious Traveler.
This is the Mysterious Traveler, inviting you to join me on another journey into the realm of the strange and the terrifying. I hope you will enjoy the trip, that it will thrill you a little and chill you a little. So settle back and get a good grip on your nerves, if you can. Where are we going? Why, tonight we're going on a little excursion into the realm of pure imagination. You've all heard the old saying, believe in a thing enough and it'll come true. Well, just suppose many people came to believe in something that couldn't possibly be real. Such as an artificial monster growing in a scientist's laboratory. What would happen? Well, if you want to know what might happen, listen to the story I call If You Believe. My story begins in a rambling old house deep in the woods. In a homemade laboratory, gray-haired Professor Jonathan Davis is peering eagerly into a large glass container that holds an odd, transparent, jelly-like substance.
Ellen? Oh, Ellen.
Yes, Dad?
Ellen, come quick.
I'm coming, dear. What is it?
Ellen, look. I think I succeeded, did I?
Oh, Dad.
You look. Your eyes are better than mine. Yes, isn't there movement in the protoplasm this time? Isn't it stirring just a little?
No, Dad. There isn't any movement.
No? You're positive, Ellen? I was sure I saw some sign of life.
I'm quite positive, Dad. Now, please, won't you admit that what you're trying to do is impossible?
No, Ellen, no. I will succeed. I know it. Now, come, we've got to try another feeding mixture. If you hand me the saline solution and dextrose, and I'll begin again.
But while Professor Davis labored in his lonely seclusion to make a lifelong dream come true, something that was to affect him vitally was happening in the editorial room of the largest newspaper in the nearby city.
Steady desk, Benson speaking. Oh, hello, Mr. McGuire. Yes? Well, yes, sure. I've been reading Dan Duncan's special features. I edit them. I see. You don't think they've been colorful enough lately, huh? Well, to tell the truth, I agree with you. I've been meaning to speak to him about it. Yes. Sure, I'll do it now. He just came in. Right. Good night, Miss McGuire. Hey, Dan.
Yeah, Joe. What cooks?
The big boss just phoned down.
What's he want?
Well, frankly, he thinks you're slipping.
McGuire thinks I'm slipping. Well, I like that.
That's what he said.
And I've done everything to get hot material except to go out and commit a murder myself.
Well, maybe he's tired of murders. You want to know why you don't turn up something like that haunted house story you did last spring?
Why I don't. That was a good story, wasn't it?
There was a honey.
Yeah. Especially the description of the way the ghost of the drowned girl walked around the house, leaving wet spots where it stepped. You know, I caught a heck of a cold walking around in wet socks to make those footmarks.
No more than you deserve for faking a story.
Yeah, faking a story. Listen, Benson, any time 1 million readers believe a story, it's true. And they believed in that ghost. Every one of them.
I'm not saying they didn't, but McGuire wants another story just as good.
I got a good mind to tell the old buzzard to fly a kite. Another story like... Hey.
Huh? What is it?
I think I got it.
Hey, Ted. Ted Jones.
Oh, yeah, Dan? Front and center.
Oh. Yeah, what is it, Dan?
All right, dump your camera on the desk and sit.
Okay.
Now, tell me, what was that story you told me last week about some professor living up in the woods back at town, never coming out of his private lab?
Oh, you mean Professor Davis?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. Well, what about him?
There was a fuss over something he said in a lecture one day, wasn't there?
A fuss? Well, it was more like an explosion.
Hey, wait a minute. I remember that case. Professor claimed he could create an artificial man, wasn't that it?
No. He said that an artificial man might be produced someday. Might be.
Well, the paper said he claimed he could create one.
Yeah, I know.
Well, it made a good story, didn't it?
And drove Professor Davis out of the university into retirement. Oh, the school didn't like the publicity.
Water under the bridge, kid. Anyway, here's the old professor working away secretly for the last 5 years. All alone?
No, he wasn't all alone. His daughter Ellen's with him.
How old is she?
Oh, she was 15 then, so...
She's 20 now. Good looking?
Well, I was in Professor Davis's class. I remember her as a skinny brat with yellow hair.
Yeah, good, a blonde. So here's the prof secretly working with his beautiful blonde daughter at what? I'll bite. What? Why, he's trying to prove he was right. He's trying to create an artificial man.
Say, you've got something there.
Oh, now, wait a minute. You don't know Professor Davis is trying to create artificial life?
Well, we soon will. You know where his hideout is, don't you?
Yeah.
All right, then grab your camera. Let's get going.
Oh, now, wait a minute, Dan. Suppose you find Professor Davis is...
Forget it. Benson, save me 2 columns. Come on, Ted. We're on our way.
There, Ellen. It's done. Now we must warm it ever so gently. It'll stay at blood heat until morning. And then, Ellen?
Oh, I hope so, Dad, but... Darling, if you fail again, won't you please promise me to
stop trying to create this artificial protoplasm?
Well, we'll talk about that in the morning. Now, who could that be?
I'll go see, Dad. Yes?
I'm Ted Jones, Miss Davis. I don't suppose you remember me.
Ted Jones. Oh, you were one of Father's students, weren't you?
Yes, that's right. I'm a newspaper photographer now. Could we come in? I have a friend with me, a reporter.
Ellen, who is it?
Newspaper men, Dad. They want to see you.
Newspaper men, don't let them in. Send them away.
All right, come now, Professor. We just want to ask you a couple of questions, but we can talk better inside, so... There. Now we can talk like friends.
Hey, but Dan, we weren't invited in.
How dare you force your way in here? Get out, both of you.
Please go.
Dan, come on. Professor Davis doesn't want to talk to us.
Keep your shirt on, Ted. Just a couple of questions, Professor. Now, isn't it true that hidden away here you're creating artificial life?
I won't answer your questions. You just print more lies and ruin everything I'm trying to do.
Then you are creating artificial life, huh?
Young man,
Tell me how far you've gotten. You figuring on springing an artificial man on us one of these days?
You fools. While I still struggle to create synthetic protoplasm, you talk of artificial men. Go before I throw you out.
Please go, please.
Come on, Dan, we're leaving.
Okay, we're going. Thanks for the interview, Professor. Read all about it in tomorrow's Curtain.
The imbeciles. What do they know of science? All they want is to cheapen my work. Make it a sensation for the headlines.
Please, Father, you must get control of yourself. They've gone now.
Yes, dear. Well, they shan't interfere with my work. Well, come, we must adjust the heating. Ellen.
Yes, Dad, what is it?
Ellen, the mixture's moving. This time I'm sure of it. The protoplasm. It's alive.
Say, Dan, this is something. Behind bolted doors, deep in the woods, Professor Jonathan Davis toils night and day to create the world's first synthetic man. In a great vat lies a strange caricature of humanity. It has a head, arms, legs, a body, all of them fashioned of a pale green substance like gelatin.
Nice touch, huh?
Day by day, life stirs more strongly in this grotesque creation of science. Someday it may breathe, walk, eat. Now, look, Dan, aren't you going pretty strong?
Forget it. The old man wants a story, doesn't he? Besides, the professor really is working on synthetic protoplasm. Maybe he has got a pale green monster in his bathtub. How do I know?
Okay, Dan, but if you're faking this story, I know nothing about it.
Faking it? You know I never fake stories.
Okay. We'll set this up and put it in the press wires. By noon tomorrow, 40 million people will be believing in Professor Davis' artificial monster.
By noon tomorrow, I'll be believing in it myself.
Hey, man, read all about it. Find this great artificial man. Read all about it. Hey,
And so, all over the nation, people read the story and marveled and believed. While in the laboratory, hidden in the woods.
Ellen, look. This time it is alive. It is. There can be no doubt of it.
The liquid is certainly moving, Dad.
Yes, see? And the protoplasm is breathing. Listen. You can hear it. I created artificial life, Ellen.
Yes, I'm afraid so, Dad.
Afraid so? What do you mean? I've actually their faces down at the university when they hear of this.
It's grown since last night.
Yes, it has. The cells are multiplying like true protoplasm. That's why I transferred it to this gas tank. Now I must add salt, acid, phosphorus.
Oh, that must be grocery boy. Excuse me, Dad. Yes? Oh, you.
Miss Davis, I hope that you'll let me apologize.
We have nothing to say to you.
Please don't shut the door before I explain.
Explain? There's nothing to explain. You force your way in here.
I came to apologize for that. Well, have you seen the morning papers?
We're not interested in the papers.
I'm afraid you'll be interested in this one. Look.
Oh, how outrageous.
That story of your father creating an artificial man is in every paper in the country, and I feel I'm to blame, and I want to make up for it. Can't I come in so we can talk?
I guess you'd better, Mr. Jones. But Dad mustn't see this paper.
Oh, no, of course not. But Won't he recognize me?
No, I don't think so. He's very nearsighted. I'll just tell him that you used to be one of his students.
And if you'll tell me the real truth, I'll try to get the paper to understand that Dan Duncan just made up his story.
Who is it, Ellen?
It's Ted Jones, Dad, one of your former students. He called to say hello.
Jones? Yes, Ted Jones. Oh, yes, of course. Organic chemistry, wasn't it, Jones?
Oh, yes, sir.
You're the one who kept breaking things. Oh, Jones, I have something here you'd be very interested in. Come and see.
Yes, sir.
Look. That stuff in the tank. It seems to be alive. It is alive. Synthetic protoplasm, my boy, the first ever created. It's breathing. Yes, and it's also growing. Life becomes stronger in it by the moment.
It's changing color, Dad. It's becoming a pale green.
Yes, growing fast. Very fast. I never dreamed of success would come so completely.
Hiya, Ted. I thought I'd find you here.
Why, Dan.
Dan Duncan himself. Hiya, Professor.
What do you want here?
Oh, just a few pictures. Shot of you in your lab, so forth.
You have the nerve to come here after what you've done.
What I've done? You haven't seen anything yet. You and your father are big news now. You're going to be bigger.
Dan, you'd better go.
Better go? I don't follow you, kid.
I said you'd better go. There isn't any story here for you.
No story? Hey, what's eating you? Aren't you here to get a follow-up?
No, I came here to get the truth. Something you wouldn't be interested in.
Hey, what kind of talk is that?
Are you going to go, or will I have to throw you out?
Throw me out? Now, listen, kid.
You want me to try it? All right, I will.
Okay, I'm going. Take your hands off it. But don't think you can get away with this. You're fired.
And that's all right with me.
As for you, Professor, you and your artificial man are going to be so well known in a day or two, you'll be getting offers from Hollywood.
And so, with each edition of the papers, the headlines grew bigger.
Read all about it. All about the artificial monster.
The telegraph wires carried editorials condemning Professor Davis.
Is it a man or is it a monster Professor Davis has created? By his refusal to answer questions, the professor led us to suspect that...
Radio commentators spread the story to still more listening millions.
A strange substance like pale green gelatin. Now it moves and stirs in its confinement, seeking to escape. This strange creation of the senses.
And speakers denounced Professor Davis.
And I ask you, can science be permitted to venture into these forbidden realms unchecked? Who knows what horror may emerge from the laboratory if we are not careful? This mad thing must be stopped. Stopped!
Who is it?
Oh, it's me, Ted.
Oh. Ted, did you have any trouble?
No, I got the medicine for your father, all right, and I brought the evening papers, too.
What did they say?
Pretty bad. They're all using Duncan's story, and he shot the works.
Ted, how can he do such a thing?
He's a very plausible writer. He has a knack for making people believe him. If anybody accuses him of lying, he'll just say that he was misled by your father.
I see. I'm sorry you lost your job trying to help us.
That doesn't matter. I was about ready to quit anyway. How is your father now?
He seems to be sleeping quietly.
Well, I'm sticking around until he's all right again.
Well, you don't have to do that, Ted. I'll make out.
If I hadn't gotten into that fight with Duncan, your father might not have had his stroke.
No, it was just the excitement. It's his heart, but I know how to take care of him. But, Ted, I'm frightened.
About your father?
No, about it. The protoplasm.
Oh.
It's changed just since this morning.
It's changed? But how?
It's grown and... Well, come on, see for yourself.
All right. Oh, this seems to be taking on shape.
Yes, and it looks... Oh, Ted, it looks like green gelatin.
The way Duncan described it.
And look, there's a vague shape like a head and the rough outline of arms and legs.
Oh, it isn't possible.
It shouldn't be, but it's happening. Something terrible is taking place inside that glass tank.
I don't understand.
Your father certainly never intended to create this.
You know, all afternoon I've been wondering if Father really has created it.
I don't follow you, Ellen. You mean some outside force might be responsible?
Ted, you know the old saying, believe in a thing enough and it'll come true.
Yes, of course.
Well, I think that's true. The power of belief is a tremendous thing. People begin to believe that, well, that there's going to be a depression, and there is a depression.
But, Ellen...
They begin to believe that strangers and foreigners are enemies, and pretty soon they are enemies. They believe there's going to be a war, and war comes.
Well, that's true, but what are you getting at?
How many people are reading Dan Duncan's story this very minute, right now, while we're talking?
Hundreds of thousands, probably, all over the nation. Maybe 1 million.
And they all believe it's true.
Well, a good many of them. Yes, Dan has a genius for being plausible.
Then don't you see, Ted? Here in this laboratory is the necessary material for a monster. And out there are all those people believing in such a fantastic monster.
You mean 1 million people are thinking life into the protoplasm?
Yes, Ted. I know it sounds fantastic, but that monster was never created by my father. Dan Duncan created it when he wrote about it.
Well, if that's true...
There's no other answer. Over there in that glass tank is something that's alive only because millions of people believe it's alive.
No, it is alive. There's no telling what it may become. Ellen, we have to destroy it.
It'll break Dad's heart, but we can't let it live.
Well, it's growing bigger by the minute. We've got to get rid of it now before it grows any larger.
There's acid in those bottles. That'll destroy it.
All right. Yeah, I see it. Here. Just as soon as I get it open, it'll take care of the creature.
Be careful, Ted. It can burn you dreadfully.
Ellen, what's happening? What are you doing?
Dad, darling, you're supposed to be in bed.
I'm feeling better. I wanted to see how the protoplasm was.
Please go back to bed, Dot. Your heart.
Oh, my heart's all right, but I must be sure. Oh, it's changed. Taken on a form. Yes, Professor, a monstrous, unnatural form. It has a head, arms, legs. But it can't have. It's only protoplasm. It's all impossible. Unfortunately, it's true. I can't explain now, but, well, we've got to destroy it. No, the culmination of my life's work. You can't destroy it.
We must, Dad.
No, I won't let you.
It's the only thing to do.
Professor, look at it. It's crawling around inside the tank now. It's trying to climb out. But it can't be dangerous. It's just harmless protoplasm.
Dad, Ted is right. You've got to let us kill it.
It's just protoplasm, I tell you.
It was just protoplasm.
Stand back, Professor. I'm going to empty this acid on. No, you mustn't. I will.
Dad!
Davis! Davis, look up! Why, the tank. He fell against the tank and broke it.
Is he hurt, Ted?
Oh, I'll see.
Oh. Ted, the protoplasm is moving toward him.
We've got to get him out of here. I have his arm. Quick, you take his feet.
Oh, hurry up, Ted. He's trying to crawl out of the tank.
Got to get him upstairs. Can you manage it?
Yes, come on.
All right, easy now, easy. All right, just a little farther. All right, one more step, Ellen. There. Now, here's the landing. We can put him down here. Now, easy. There.
Ted, I can't find his pulse.
Let me try.
Dad? Ted's no use. He's gone.
I'm afraid so.
His heart failed him. I've always known it would someday. Ted, down in the laboratory.
Yes, it's moving. Look, it's gotten out of the tank and it's crawling all around the lab.
And the only way out is down those stairs and through the lab. We're trapped up here.
Look, I'm not saying it isn't a good story, Dan. It's a whale of a story. But McGuire wants some pictures.
Pictures? How can I get pictures? I can't even get into the place.
I don't care. Just get them.
You want me to bust in the window, I suppose?
Let your conscience be your guide. And I know you haven't got a conscience. But make it fast. I want those shots for the late morning edition.
All right. I'm going. With a camera in one hand and a bunch of skeleton keys in the other.
It's looking for food, Ted.
Yes, and it's getting frantic. Look how it crawls back and forth through the lab. It's been doing that for an hour now.
Look how enormous it's grown. suppose it tries to come up these stairs to this balcony.
Well, it may not. It has no eyes, no intelligence. It's just protoplasm blindly seeking food.
But suppose it does try to come up the stairs.
Well, then we'll stop it. I have the gun here that I found in your father's desk. I'll use that on it.
I don't think it would even feel a bullet.
Well, we'll see. There. It's on the other side of the lab now in plain sight. Stand back there, and I'll try a couple of shots. I hit it.
It didn't even notice.
No. If we could only reach those bottles of acid, that would fix it.
But every time we've started down the stairs, it's rushed over to wait for us.
Must feel the vibration of it. I'm going to take one more try.
Ted, please be careful.
Yes, I will. I'll tiptoe down one step at a time. Perhaps I can avoid attracting its attention this time. What's it doing now?
Lying quiet, as if it was listening.
Only lie quiet a few seconds more. I'm almost at the bottom.
Ted, quick! It's coming this way! Oh, Ted, it almost got
Yes,
you.
it did touch my foot, but I wasn't interested in getting any better acquainted.
What are we going to do now?
I don't know, Ellen. If we could only reach that acid. Say, I wonder if it would make any difference if we turned out the light. They can be controlled from up here, can't they?
Oh, yes, but what good would that do?
Well, in the dark, it might become inactive. Some elementary organisms are like that.
Well, we can try it. Okay, I'll turn out the lights. There. Pitch black now. But it's still moving around.
Well, just wait a moment. Listen.
What is it?
I heard footsteps outside the house.
Footsteps?
Just listen.
Someone coming in the front door. Yeah, there's someone in the lab.
But who? Good heavens, Duncan, is that you, Dan? Dan, answer me. Is that you? Get out, quick!
Okay, kid, keep your shirt on. I'm going as soon as I get a picture of this joint.
But, Dan, you don't understand. It's loose. Get away, quick! Ellen, turn on that light.
Yes, Ted.
You can't scare me, kid. I came to get a picture, and I'm going to get it.
Run, Dan, run! Ellen, don't look. Quick on the ass.
Hurry!
Here, you take this bottle. I'll take one. We'll break them over, understand?
Yes, Ted.
Well, come on, then.
He's gone. Duncan's gone.
It's covering it. Eating it. Ellen, throw your bottle now. Oh, fury, that horse would enough to kill anything. The acid is burning into it. It's killing it. Ellen is dying.
It's not moving anymore.
It's not breathing either. We've killed it.
It's starting to melt away. It's dissolving.
Now that it's dead, it's turning back into the liquid it started from. The substance that the belief of millions gave an unreal life to.
Oh, it's gone back to a liquid now. There's nothing left of it.
It's gone as if it had never existed.
Except for Dan Duncan. Oh, dear.
There's nothing we can do for him, Ellen. He's dead. He created the monster, and it's killed him. This is the mysterious traveler again. Well, maybe it's true about believing in things and making them happen. Wars and depressions and artificial monsters and things like that. I think I'll make a New Year's resolution to be careful what I believe in 1947. No more believing in boogeymen or spooks. I might meet one. Instead, I'll try believing in some of the nicer things for a change, such as peace and goodwill among nations. Well, if I can get enough people to join me, maybe they'll come true and... Oh, you'll have to get off here. I'm sorry. But I'm sure we'll meet again. I take this same train every week at this time.
have just heard The Mysterious Traveler, a series of dramas of the strange and terrifying. In today's cast were Maurice Toplin, Chuck Webster, Louise Fitch, Wendell Holmes, Edgar Staley, and Bill Smith. Original music was played by Doc Whipple. The Mysterious Traveler is written, produced, and directed by Bob Arthur and David Kogan. And now, a preview of next week's strange and shivery story by The Mysterious Traveler.
It's only 2 days now to New Year's Eve. Were you planning a big celebration to greet 1947? I'd be careful if I were you. Because, you see, our story next week is about a man who did just that. In fact, it was such a big celebration that when he got over it, it wasn't 1947 at all, but 1948. He lost a whole year out of his life. And when he finally got the year back, well, what happened to him shouldn't happen to a werewolf. So take it easy, New Year's Eve, so you'll be sure to be on hand next week for the strange and terrifying tale I call New Year's Nightmare.
The Mysterious Traveler is presented from our New York studios. Carl Caruso speaking. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
For a behind-the-scenes glimpse into the workshops of the nation's top mystery writers, be sure to hear Mr. Mystery every week. The famous creators of your favorite fiction battlers will be guests of Mr. Mystery. You'll hear short mystery dramatizations as well. Don't miss your chance for plus mystery entertainment and hear Mr. Mystery and a well-known guest expert every week over most of these stations. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Strange Wills. Stories of strange wills made by strange people, starring the distinguished Hollywood actor Warren Williams, and featuring Marvin Miller and Lorene Tuttle with Howard Culver, and the original music of Del Castillo. I devise and bequeath to my heirs the 7 deadly sins: despair, anger, jealousy, revenge, lust, envy, and hate. And here is Warren Williams.
These are the stories of strange wills gathered from probate courts the world over. Many of them written on deathbeds or under highly emotional circumstances clearly show that the writers of the wills used this last chance of self-expression to vindicate within their own hearts the flagrant sins of omission and remission made during their lifetimes. Names, places, and time have all been changed in order that no reflection may fall on any person or persons living or dead. From the dusty vaults of the probate court, we bring you documentary proof of the old adage that man is the strangest of all creatures. You'll presently see what I mean. But first, I'd like to have you listen to a few words from your announcer.
now back to Warren William as John Francis O'Connell in Black Interlude.
Of all the sins that live within the human heart, none is so deadly, so lasting as hate. Unchecked, it bears the bitter fruit of mental and spiritual annihilation, nor does it always end with death. Its vibrations reach out of the grave like the tentacles of an octopus in a last effort to win the final victory of a bitter revenge. Why did Francis X. Blair hate his only son, Paul, with a hatred as intense and boundless as the elements? The reason is as old as Eve. Francis X. Blair, rich, handsome, and a widower, and his son, Paul, were both in love with the same girl. Francis X. Blair had been my client for nearly 10 years. He was dominant, relentless, and headstrong, the kind of a man who took what he wanted no matter what the hurt. Paul was like his dead mother, shy, sensitive. His talents ran to the literary. How he ever managed to take the lovely and beautiful Phyllis Lamar away from his father, I'll never know. But insiders told me that it was just a case of love at first sight. Everyone who knew about it was anxiously waiting to hear whom her final choice would be, father or son. And then one cold November night, Francis X. Blair invited me over to his penthouse apartment to discuss his will. I knew that something extraordinary was about to happen.
Telling me to be a good loser, John, may be the conventional thing to say. But unfortunately, I've never lived in the conventional manner.
Oh, why can't you forget and forgive them both, Francis? After all, Phyllis has made her choice. And while she may prefer Paul as a husband, you can still have her as a daughter.
I'm sorry that I can't agree with you. I consider my son in the light of a thief. A love thief, if you like. But the fact remains that he deliberately took away from me the one thing in my life that I cherished most highly. I would have preferred it if he had robbed my safe. It would have been more honorable. He's got to pay for his sin, and she will pay for her folly.
Why don't you sleep over it for a few days, Francis? I'm sure that with sober reflection...
It won't be necessary. I have made my final decision. From this day on, my son is disinherited. I want you to redraft my will, cutting him off with $1.
But surely you aren't serious. Paul is just out of school a few years. He isn't equipped.
Let him starve, then, and the girl with him. She'll come crawling back to me on her knees one of these fine days, begging my forgiveness.
Francis, I beg you not to be hasty.
I'm sorry, but it's too late. I hate Paul Blair as I've never hated another soul, living or dead. I want him to suffer, just as he has made me suffer. I'll hate him until my dying breath. And if I can, I'll go on hating him from my grave. And this is the last time I will ever mention his name again, as long as I live.
Nor did the next 2 years bring a change of heart. Francis X. Blair grew more bitter day by day, if such a thing was possible. His will was prepared and executed according to his wishes. But I still hoped that before he died, he would relent and repent. Paul and Phyllis, meanwhile, were quietly married and were living in a small furnished apartment on the outskirts of town. On the night of their first wedding anniversary, they invited me to dinner. And I want to offer my congratulations on this, the first year of your happiness together.
And don't think we haven't been happy, Mr. O'Connell. Paul has been wonderful.
Well, I had to make up in some way for all the millions she lost by not marrying Dad.
Oh, that's just such talking nonsense.
No, how is Dad, Mr. O'Connell? You know, I haven't seen or heard from him in almost 2 years. Tell me, has he softened any?
No, I'm afraid not, Paul. In fact, he's more bitter than ever. Of course, there's always a chance, always the possibility he may...
We don't want any chances, do we, Paul? We have our own plans now, our own dreams, too. I think good comes out of everything, Mr. O'Connell. If Paul hadn't been disinherited, do you think he would ever have taken a job as a reporter? That's where he learned to write.
And I agree with you, Phyllis. I think Paul has a brilliant future as a writer. One day, with you behind him...
Oh, everything would be fine if Dad would only forgive me. I know it sounds foolish to you, Mr. O'Connell, but his continual hatred for me is preying on my mind. You see, I've never hated... And the thought of someone hating me, well...
I'm sure you feel badly about it, Paul. But you see, you wounded your father's ego. That's a dangerous thing to do to anybody.
I've told Phyllis this before, and she laughed at me, but I want to tell you too, Mr. O'Connell. Sometimes I imagine I hear my father laughing at me. Laughing as though he expected something to happen to me. Something...
Oh, please, Paul, get that thought out of your mind. Nothing that your father can say or do will change anything. Our lives are our own. We're the masters of our own destiny. Voodoo, witchcraft, and superstitions are obsolete. And when next you see Francis X. Blair, Mr. O'Connell, please ask him to stay out of Paul's dreams. He may not know it, but I'm getting a problem child on my hands.
But I never saw Francis X. Blair again. That is, alive. He died in his sleep just 2 days after my visit with Paul and Phyllis, and he had neither forgiven nor forgotten. I attended the funeral and sat with Paul and Phyllis. Paul looked disconsolate, discouraged, that the hatred in his father's heart was being carried to his grave.
Benedicat vos omnipotens Deus, et Pater et Filius, et Spiritus Sanctus, requiescat in pace. Amen.
As the little funeral procession walked slowly out of the church, I wondered if this was to be the end of hate. Surely death would be the great healer. Had not the late Francis X. Blair done enough hurt to more than compensate for his lost love? Well, I thought so. But early one evening, several months later... Yes?
Mr. O'Connell?
Yes.
Oh, Mr. O'Connell, this is Phyllis Blair. I've only got a minute to speak to you. I'm here at the airport with Paul. We're leaving, Mr. O'Connell, leaving for good. We're flying to the West Coast.
For good? Heavens, what's happened?
Paul is standing just outside the booth. I don't want him to hear me. Mr. O'Connell, Paul said that he couldn't live here another day. Since his father's death, he's grown worse instead of better. He says that he hears his father still laughing at him. He says if he doesn't go immediately, he's liable to lose his mind. Oh, I've got to go now. It's getting suspicious.
Phyllis, I want you to keep in touch with me. I'll help you, both of you, all that I can. Maybe it's best. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Number, please.
Oh, never mind, operator. So this was it. The hatred of father for son was really living on, coming up like some shrouded ghost from the tomb to encompass and destroy. I recalled the old familiar proverb, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. I wondered why they stopped with a woman. What about a man? What about the dead? Where did fury end, I wondered. A few months later, I received my first letter from Phyllis. The change had done Paul good. He'd turned to freelance writing and was concentrating on radio scripts. They were building their lives anew. Yes, it was a long way from the grave of Francis X. Blair to the West Coast. Long enough, I hoped. I felt happy about Paul and Phyllis for the first time in months. But one night, quite unexpectedly, I received a telegram. It was from Phyllis. She told me the very thing that I'd been fearing. Paul had been committed. Committed to an institution for the insane. She begged me to come at once, and I saw there was no time to be lost. How to fight against a man dead these many months was a problem that offered no immediate solution. But there had to be an answer, of that I was sure, and I meant to find it. I left that night by plane to enlist my services in the fight against hate and its vicious allies, the 7 deadly sins.
Oh, Mr. O'Connell, I'm so glad you've come. I'm so glad. It's been a nightmare.
And I'm glad to be here, too, young lady. I intend to see this thing through, no matter how long it takes.
Oh, thank you so much.
Just take hold of yourself now until we have this thing licked. First, I want you to tell me everything that happened to Paul since the day you came. Then I hope I'll know what to do.
Well, as I told you in my letter, Paul went into radio. His training on the newspaper was excellent, and he turned out several very good scripts. One show in particular he called Happy Valley was seriously considered by several agencies. Paul has written over 30 chapters. You see, it's a daily serial about a disabled war veteran who comes home, and the story he tells about his readjustment into a normal society.
What happened to her, Phyllis?
He had a meeting 2 weeks ago at the agency. As I understand it, several people were present. Directors, actors, and the man who was to sign Paul to a contract, and Mr. Henley, the agency's producer. He took Paul into his private office. Everything was going along nicely. They were about to come to an agreement.
That's one of your tips very carefully. You've got a fine show here, Mr. Blair. But the staff read it, and they all liked it.
Well, thank you very much. Very much, Mr. Henley. You don't know how I appreciate all this.
Don't thank me. I'm a businessman. I'm not doing this out of sympathy. You've come up with something we like, and it's a deal. I'll have my secretary draw up the contracts. 5 shows a week, 52 weeks, with an option for renewal, and you'll receive $100 a show. That's the minimum scale, I know, but still a lot of money.
Well, that sounds good to me, Mr. Henley. I'm ready to sign.
No, excuse me.
Surely.
Henley. What? Called off. Why does he have to get a sore throat when he's singing for us? Tell him I'll fly east today. Tell him to meet me at the airport. Yes, I'll leave here in about an hour. He can't do that to me. Hey, Blair, I can't sign your contract today. I've got to rush east. Come back next week. I'll have my secretary get in touch with you. See you later. I'm sorry, Mr. Blair, but it just can't be helped.
Paul didn't say anything when he came home. He retired early. And sometime during the night...
What's that? Who's there? Oh, do you hear it? Do you hear it?
Paul, what is this? Oh, here's what?
It's my father. He's laughing. Laughing from his grave.
Oh, Paul, nonsense. I don't hear anything.
He's laughing at us, Phyllis. He's responsible for everything going wrong with me.
Paul, please.
I never should have married.
Paul, stop. You don't know what you're saying.
Oh, yes, I do. I know I'm through with everything. I can't stop my father from hating or from destroying me. It's no use, Phyllis. It's no use. I'm through. I tell you, I'm through.
Part 2 of Black Interlude follows in just a moment. And now back to Black Interlude and Warren Williams.
Next day, Phyllis and I motored out to the mental institution where Paul had been taken. The late Francis X. Blair had a fight on his hands, whether he knew it or not.
For a while, Mr. O'Connell, we thought he was going to recover rapidly, but then he got worse. We've been giving him shock treatments, therapy, the usual correctives for his type of illness, but unfortunately...
We appreciate everything that's been done for him, Doctor. But I do have some rather interesting facts, which I hope may be of benefit in treating him. You see, Doctor, I represented his father legally. For the next hour, I told the doctor what I knew about the strange case of Paul Blair. I told him of a plan I had that might possibly help to restore the young man's reason. It was a gamble, I knew, but it was time to put our cards on the table. It was now or never. After hearing me out, the doctor agreed to my plan. We left without seeing Paul, but in a happier frame of mind. Later that afternoon, I called upon a friend of mine, a radio broadcasting executive. I told him the story.
What you're asking me to do may cost my job, John, but it's worth a chance. Let's see. I've got a spot tomorrow afternoon, 3 o'clock. We're changing programs. I'll sandwich your show in. But only for one day, mind you.
Believe me, Joe, I appreciate that one day.
But if my switchboard is clogged with an angry mob calling for my neck, you know what you'd better do, don't you?
Yes, I do. I'll start running. At 2:45 the next day, everything was in readiness for the experiment. A radio had been slipped into Paul's room. Phyllis, the doctor, and I stood outside his partly open door, waiting for the moment that was to lift him from his black interlude or to plunge him forever into the half-world of fantasy. Dejectedly, Paul sat in his chair, gazing off into nowhere. He looked forlorn, despondent. Our plan was a shot in the dark, but we were all praying for it to hit the mark. And then, at 3 o'clock...
Look, he's hurried. He's looking at the radio. Oh, pray, Mr. O'Connell, pray.
Folks of Happy Valley, as you all know, we're down here at the station today to welcome back our friend and neighbor, Sergeant John Watson. 5 years ago, he left us to serve his country. He was just a boy then, and now he's coming back. A hero and a man.
Look, Doctor. He's walking over to the radio. He's smiling.
Let's give Johnny a welcome he'll never forget as long as he lives. I don't have to tell you that he won't be able to see us. He can only hear us. We all know that John Watson is blind. All right now, let's let him know we mean what we say.
Paul was listening intently now, almost eagerly. Hands in the pockets of his dressing robe, he was pacing the floor excitedly. Would our desperate gamble work out? It had to.
Welcome home, Sergeant Watson. We're all mighty happy to have you back, and we're proud of what you've done, down to the last man of it. I haven't got the key to the town to offer you. You won't need it. Every home here in Happy Valley is your home, son. Yes, all yours, from now on in.
Well, thanks, everyone. Thanks a lot. You don't know what this means to me, after being gone 5 years, and 2 of it spent in a hospital. I can't see you, but I feel you, and it's the best feeling I've had in a long, long time.
Doctor, Mr. O'Connell, look, Paul. He's fallen. Maybe he's...
Turn off the radio, please. Here, Mr. O'Connell, give me a hand. We'll carry him over to the bed. Careful.
Move that pillow, Phyllis.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
There we are. Just leave him here, please. I'll ring for the nurse and we'll attend to him immediately.
Well, Doctor, maybe we shouldn't have done this.
Well, there's nothing to worry about for the moment, but I'll have to ask both of you to leave now. I'm sorry, Mr. O'Connell, that the experiment didn't work.
No, I'm sorry, too, Doctor. Probably I let my hopes get the better of me.
I'll let you know later whether or not this afternoon's experiment had any violent reaction. I'm afraid,
yes,
though,
Doctor. I'm afraid that I made a jumble of the whole business. Thank you again. I'll call you later. Our return trip was a bitter one. We'd taken a chance and lost. Instead of shocking Paul out of his mental depression, my idea had caused a complete collapse. As we walked slowly into the Blair apartment...
Excuse me, Mr. O'Connell. Yes?
Is Mr. O'Connell there? This is Joe Parnell at the radio station. I've been trying to locate him for an hour.
You, Mr. O'Connell.
Thank you, Phyllis. Hello?
John, where in the world have you been? I've called you everywhere.
I just this moment came back from the hospital.
Well, the switchboard's been swamped, all right, just as I was afraid of. Oh, listen to this. Happy Valley is a smash hit. Hundreds of people have called and wired their congratulations.
Well, I'm happy to hear it, Joe. Only
For heaven's sakes, only what?
that the idea backfired, Joe. Paul Blair heard his show at the hospital and collapsed before it was half over. The shock was too severe. We fear for the very worst. For 3 long, never-ending days, Paul Blair lay unconscious on his bed in the sanatorium. I felt chagrined, angry that I permitted myself to take such a desperate chance. I wondered through those long hours of Paul's black interlude whether or not the evil voice of his dead father was reaching him. Had Francis X. Blair achieved his bitter revenge even from the depths of his grave? Phyllis and I waited impatiently to learn the answer.
Yes?
Mrs. Blair, this is Dr. Fry.
Yes, Doctor. What is it? What is it?
Paul regained consciousness about an hour ago. I'm very happy to say he appears to be quite rational. He's asking for you.
Oh, thank you, Doctor. Thank you. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Oh, Paul, darling.
I heard it, Phyllis. I heard Happy Valley. Yes. Oh, it was wonderful. Imagine my show, my first show on the air.
Yes, Paul, I know. Mr. O'Connell and I were here when you heard it. Wasn't it wonderful?
And you'll be happy to know, Paul, that your show is a smash hit. Service organizations everywhere are behind it. It's on the air to stay.
Oh, I must get strong in a hurry. Every day is precious to me now. I've new ideas, new shows. And I have you, Phyllis. I know now that our world's going to be new and beautiful.
Yes.
And I know, too, that Dad finally forgave me. You see, after I heard the show, he stopped laughing. Maybe he heard it, too.
Warren William will be back in just a moment to tell you what the official records say about the probate cause of the Black Interlude. But first, here is a word from our sponsor. Here again is Warren William.
After a protracted hearing, the court decided that the testator, Francis X. Blair, was of unsound mind when he made his will, and his entire estate eventually went to his son, Paul. He, in turn, gave a large part of his inheritance to a disabled veterans clinic. Paul is now a very successful writer and author. Just recently, he and Phyllis left for an extended trip through South America to gather material for a new book he's preparing to write. And about the laugh from the grave, well, frankly, your guess is as good as mine. Did Paul actually hear it? Or was it caused from an oversensitiveness together with a persecution complex? Well, if it's true that love is eternal, why not hate? If the one is possible, why not the other? Yes, why not? Next week, I have a story for you about a last will and a testament that's stranger than any story you've ever read in a book. A pirate and a beautiful girl were shipwrecked on a lonely, deserted island. Unfortunately for him, he was mortally hurt in getting ashore. Because he was possessed of a considerable fortune, and because he felt that he must atone for his past sins, he decided to make a will. But he had no paper, no pencil or ink. And yet he made a written will that found its way back to civilization and the courts. And how did he do it? Well, when you hear the story...
The Lady and the Pirate, you'll understand more about it. This is Warren William inviting you to listen again next week.
Is written by Ken Christine and directed by Albert Ulrich. This is a Teleways feature produced in Hollywood.